Hello. Dingo. If there's free drinks, then can you point me out where they are? How are we all today? Can you hear me? Excellent. Oh man. So, trying a different time. According to YouTube's analytics, the majority of my audience is on roughly around 6 AM. So, which kind of, for me, is okay. My job has me doing mornings now, so I'm normally up anywhere between 4 and 5 AM anyway. Stoney, I didn't think that Brewski was sucking up. I thought he was just addressing himself. So how are we all doing? The Star Citizen treating all of you. Would it work? I was a bit confused as to why. I was a bit confused as to why YouTube was suggesting that I do my streams around this time. Because the way I see it, the largest portion of our audience comes from the NA time zone. And this is like mid-afternoon for them, where most of them are still at work. I know for the EU audience, this is like evening for them. So, I don't know, maybe we get more EU watchers than we do NA. Yeah, 3 PM. It's 5:10 in the morning for me. Oh, so Adrian, it's just you manipulating YouTube's algorithm so that it tells me that I need to stream at this time. Is a Warlock any good nowadays? The Warlock strength was its EMP. And, yeah, I just wouldn't, like, you could still use it for Piracy and use the EMP as a defensive weapon against light fighters. But for use in Piracy, it's, unless you're fitting it out with distortion weapons, like direct distortion weapons, you're not going to have that great of a time with it. Yes, Tony. Yeah, it breaks it down by regions. So yeah, it's an interesting thing. Like for me, my schedule is changing a lot. So next week's stream is actually going to be earlier in the week. Does it segment the regions by time zones? No, it doesn't. It actually uses, it actually separates them by countries. The main issue with the Warlock and it being competitive against the other light fighters is that it just doesn't have the maneuver to be able to keep up with them. So you need to rely on that EMP and you need to be able to utilize like backstrafing most of the time and get them into a chase. Because the Warlock actually is quite strong in terms of speed, it's just maneuverability isn't that great. Anyway, I think we should get straight into we'll start moving into the content, guys. So the first video that we're going to be reacting to, I was a bit confused by the title because I thought that this ship had been out longer than what this person was saying. So the time's just been flying for me. And I just haven't been paying attention. Or the person's only been paying attention for the last 2 years. And yeah, Stony, you are correct. The first thing that we're reacting to is this issue about the Prowler. And the thing about it is that this has existed pretty much since the Prowler was balanced. And it was balanced not long after release, and this was one of the first ships from memory where people started talking about how CIG will sell a shipping concept, release it so that more people buy it, and then quickly nerf it afterwards. And the reason why this started coming out, actually I'll talk about why I got balanced first. The reason why I got balanced first was because it was too strong. It was one of the best dogfighting ships when it got released. It was able to shred light fighters like they were nothing. It would cut through heavy fighters like they were nothing. Pretty much nothing could stand up against it. And the main reason for it was its maneuverability. Like, its firepower was good, but its maneuverability was insane. No promises, Sea Hunter. We'll just keep it in game though. Yeah, the Prowler's maneuverability was insane, and that's really where CIG like hit it with a nerf bat. But then they went in the opposite direction and just made it trash. And the problem is that it's supposed to be a dropship, and it can't survive. It can't survive the job of a dropship. And people are like, oh, well, it's supposed to, be stealthy. And it's like, well, I used to make fun of Lever about his Prowler when I would show up at a freelancer and would be stealthier than him. I'd be telling him this is going to be our new dropship for bloody stealth insertions, because at that time, the freelancer signature was like, in total, with all signatures combined, was only like 3,000 units. So you couldn't pick it up any further away than bloody, 3.5 kilometers. Yeah, the Prowler was there and you were picking it up at 15 kilometers. which was so frustrating because it's a cool looking ship, which I'd love to use for piracy ops, but because you can see it coming from the other side of fucking Stanton, it's useless for piracy. And it was actually funny because this isn't a secret. Like, CIG knows about this. CIG knows about how bad the Prowler actually is. It just hasn't been a priority for them to address. There was a Calling All Devs or a Star Citizen Live where they were talking about the alien ships. And I actually got one of my questions answered on that one. And it was a question along the lines of, is the Tavaran's stealth capabilities the reason why they lost the war? Or something along those lines, because their heat signatures, like the the Talon and the Prowler, are both supposed to be stealthy ships, right? They are not. They are not stealth in any way, shape, or form in comparison to other ships. There are other ships that aren't even categorized as having stealth capabilities that do better at masking their signatures than what the Prowler and the Talon do. I was kind of poking fun at CIG about that, because we, in the lore of Star Citizen, humanity fights Tavaran in 2 wars and defeats him both times. And, one of the selling points of the Tavaran was, their tactics and their stealth capabilities are part of the reason why they're able to actually give humanity such a, huge issue. And the thing about this is that, we see it in game and it's just trash. It's like, it's really just been trashed by how CIG set it up. There's also other criticisms that I have of the Prowler that I don't like about the ship, but that comes from a personal perspective. But like, overall, it's a really cool fucking looking ship, and that's about it. See, Hunter, I'll look at your question. If you ask your question again at the end of this video, I'll answer it between the transitions. Yeah, it's quite unfortunate. It's quite unfortunate that their stealth capabilities are just terrible. Anyway, let's have a see. Who's this guy again? Where is it? It should be popping up here. What's this person's name? 4Fox Gaming. Let's see what 4Fox Gaming has to say about the Prowler.
Hello everyone. So what's going on with the best dropship money could buy, and why is the community so upset with the state of the Prowler? Hello, my name is 4Fox. I've been a Prowler owner for about 3 years now, and today I wish to bring the attention to the dilemma of owning this wonderful ship before the quickly approaching Alien Week event in the beginning of June 2023. In this video, we will be discussing 3 very relevant topics that need to be addressed when it comes to the Prowler at this year's Alien Week. Our first discussion will be about the chronic issues plaguing the Asperia Prowler owners. Second, we need to compare the Prowler's ship lore with current in-game implementation. And third, we will go over the current dropship meta. I am a new YouTuber and we have an org full of Tavaran ship specialists, so these issues is something we've been dealing with for years. So let's begin with the first chapter, chronic issues. The most chronic bug affecting the Asperia Prowler, hands down, is the legendary Star C1992 remote turret bug. This bug has currently been in the game for 780 days since the time of this video's release. That is exactly 69% of the total time that the Asperia Prowler has existed since the release of the ship in April 2020. If you are unaware what this bug does, let me give you a very reproducible rundown. If your co-pilot decides he wants to help you by getting in the remote turret, he will never be able to find the icon. Furthermore, it completely disrupts weapon assignment by inverting weapon controls just by having both players sitting in their respective places. The co-pilot gets the dual size 5s, and the pilot gets the slaved remote turret, which is not ideal. With the remote turret interaction gone and the weapon assignment.
Wait, did they just say that the co-pilot gets dual size 5s? Let me listen to that again, because that's not right.
Respective places. The co-pilot gets the dual size 5s, and the pilot gets the slaved remote turret, which is
okay. That's not supposed to be a thing at all. That isn't actually supposed to be a thing. When the Prowler first came out, the co-pilot, from memory, the co-pilot was able to control the remote turret. The problem was that it didn't spin. I don't think he's lying. I think what's happened is that it has actually inverted. But when it first came out, yeah, the co-pilot actually controlled the turret. And this is actually one of the bugbears that I had with the Prowler, is that the position of the pilot in relation to the position of the co-pilot, like, my thought was swap them. The two positions should be swapped. The pilot should be at the bottom so that they're closest to the ground and can see what's going on, and the co-pilot should be at the top because they're closest to the remote turret. I'm not a big fan of the design of the Prowler in terms of the pilot and co-pilot's positions. I don't really see a benefit of the co-pilot at all. But, you know, it's an alien ship. But from memory, like, that wasn't always the case. Like, the pilot controlled the size 5 weapons, the co-pilot controlled the remote turret. Just never went into a proper remote turret view. That was the problem.
Is not ideal. With the remote turret interaction gone and the weapon assignment bricked, you have to politely ask your co-pilot to get out of the seat so that you may continue to effectively pilot your ship solo. The frustration that this bug has caused over the last 2 years is substantial. Our org members have been posting threads on Spectrum and Reddit for the chance that a developer will take notice of this bug. This ship very much needs this issue fixed for this year's Alien Week. I cannot stress enough how much the Prowler community has endured waiting for this issue to be resolved. It is by far the most significant issue plaguing the Prowler. This is because a Prowler's co-pilot is such a versatile role. The transition between systems engineer, remote turret.
Just a quick tip when it comes to doing video editing and things like that. The text, just put a drop shadow on it so that it's easy to stand out. Because this is actually hard to read if you're, like, whilst things are moving around the screen. I also, personally, one of the things that I do is I just throw a black plane and put an opacity on it so it darkens the screen. That way the text stands out more, because what you're trying to do is make the text stand out more. You want people to see these points. The B-roll in the background is just there to keep things moving. Now, yeah, the co-pilot, and this was another reason why I always thought that the co-pilot and pilot's position needed to change. All the shit that you would want the co-pilot to do, so if they needed to get out of the chair and, you know, fix something while the pilot's doing their thing, they're all upstairs where the pilot is. So it's either the pilot gets out and starts fixing things, and then they leave the co-pilot to actually do the flying, which they technically, well, I don't know if they can anymore. I haven't flown a Prowler. Actually, I flew one for the screenshot, but I didn't jump into the co-pilot's chair to see if you could still fly it from the co-pilot's chair, because when it came out, you could actually do that. But yeah, like system engineer or coordinator, I wouldn't use the co-pilot for that. I'd have somebody else handle that. That's in a chair or in one of the standing spots. And boots on the ground. What's the point of having a co-pilot if you're just going to get them jumping out of the ship? You can fly it from both? Yeah. It's just when you put a pilot in the pilot's chair, it takes ship control away from the co-pilot, which was one of the reasons why I always thought that was stupid. Honestly, I think with the issue that they're talking about with the guns, I personally believe that it's just something that's left over from a CIG dev who did some work on the Prowler, who got sick of climbing up the ladder to get into the chair, so they just made the main guns assignable to the co-pilot. But that's just a tinfoil hat theory. There's nothing substantial to back that. But yeah, let's keep watching.
Operator, org coordinator, and boots on the ground play such a huge role on the Prowler's multi-crew gameplay. Even if you drop just one person off, the Prowler is 100% responsible for you, and it's still considered multi-crew even though he's not in your ship. For that reason, having something to man as simple as a turret is extremely beneficial to the dynamic role of the Prowler's co-pilot. Me and all the other Prowler pilots in our alien ship community wish to see the end of this era. I pick up way too many players only to tell them to get out of the co-pilot's chair. Continuing on to chapter 2, ship lore. Something I keep hearing about the justification of the most brutal nerf in Star Citizen history is, it's a dropship. So today, I will be directly quoting the Xperia Prowler brochure. Although the Prowler is known for its speed and defensive capabilities, it can also hold its own in a stand-up fight. It is by every means a military class vehicle, appropriate for conflict. I want to add that the Prowler has also participated in 2 wars called the Tavaran Wars. Fun fact, they lost both wars because of this nerf. The Prowler's maneuverability nerf was terrible, and even more so when it comes to atmosphere. Like, look at the roll rate when in VTOL mode. Your engines are pointing up and down. This doesn't really physics at all. At one point, it wasn't even allowed to escape the effects of gravity without VTOL assistance, something I would only expect from a Kraken or an Idris. The Prowler's maneuverability should be to the tune of the next quote. The Tavaran's ability to surgically place military assets quickly was their most decisive quality. My recommendation is that it shouldn't be any less than the Vanguard series, specifically the Vanguard Hoplite. Realistically, they are the same class of dropships. Continuing on, we need to talk about heavy armor. We know that armor is currently not implemented in-game yet, but hull HP is.
I'll go to the point about the armor in a minute. I agree with his point about it should be closer to performance in terms of like the hoplite, but the whole brochure jargon, like they're in-law brochures to sell the game as though, or to sell the ship as though it was selling it to customers in the Star Citizen universe. So it's going to be full of marketing jargon in it. All of them are designed like that. They're all made like that. So to use the argument like, oh, this is, you know, how the ship should be performing, it's like, well, you know, they're all going to say that their ship is the best, because you're not going to sell it by saying, yeah, this is a mediocre ship. Like, it's not that great. You know, it's an okay drop ship, but, you know, can't fight for shit. Terrible handling. My thing about this is that I think they're reaching a little bit to try and improve, like, for an argument to improve the performance of a Prowler, as opposed to just saying, like, demonstrating. Like, I like how he demonstrated the role when it was in VTOL mode. Like, that's a good argument for, you know, saying that CIG needs to fix the maneuverability. Talking about the lore and using the ship brochure, I don't see it as a good enough angle of attack to try and push the agenda. It's like, oh yeah, it's just a marketing thing. That's it. The brochure is just marketing.
The Prowler's hull HP is currently less than the Ursa rover, and the new luxury RSI Lynx is literally next to the Prowler in HP. Again, we could look at the brochure for hull HP recommendations. It is equipped with heavy armor and a Phalanx shield system, meaning that the Prowler can guarantee that it can withstand brutal sustained punishment.
He's actually put the little black plane over the text. Or behind the text. Brutal punishment before compromising its... Yeah, so... I'm going to wait. I'll wait on this one. I'm going to keep playing and see if he actually talks about how the Phalanx shield system is supposed to work.
Before compromising its operational integrity. The hull HP is equivalent to that of a starter ship. There's no reason why the best dropship money could buy has significantly less hull HP than the Cutlass Steel, and slightly more than a luxury ground vehicle. Everything I just listed about the core identity of the Prowler is either nerfed, bugged, or backlogged. And I won't dive into stealth in this video because I want to discuss Chapter 3, the dropship meta.
Alright. So they didn't talk about the Phalanx shield system. The Tavarans, one of the strengths of the Tavarans was their shield system as well. They had air shields, so they could have an actual shield set up so that you could have your interior open to space, but none of the interior atmosphere would go venting out. The Tavarans had that technology. From my understanding, humanity didn't actually have that until the first Tavaran War, in which case they stole it from them. And then started installing it on all of their own ships. Before they had to, from memory, before they had to actually vent the atmosphere of any of their launch bays or anything like that before they would launch ships. But another one of their technologies, and this was, the strength of the Tavarans with their shielding, was their Phalanx shield system. And their Phalanx shield system was based on having an operator that would essentially control a turret that had a maneuverable shield bubble or shield face. And they would be able to direct the shield face to provide additional protection. And on their capital ships, Tavarans would actually have dedicated shield operators who would maneuver the shield, their Phalanx system, so that it would actually block incoming fire from specific directions. But it came at a cost where they didn't cover their entire ship with shields. They relied on their shield operators to, be able to direct the shield system to be able to block incoming fire from specific directions. The benefit of it was that they could put a lot more power into blocking incoming fire from a specific direction, and the shields would be able to hold up a lot longer, as opposed to just spreading it out all over the place, at the cost that they would be leaving other areas unshielded. So that's another job that the co-pilot's supposed to be doing, is actually, with the Phalanx shield system, redirecting the shield around the ship so that it's blocking incoming fire as they're getting attacked. The problem is, though, is with a dropship, if you're getting attacked, you're probably going to get shot at from more than one side. So I don't know how CIG is actually going to address that. Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, it's only unique to the Tavaran, and not many people, it was a big selling point years ago, and then as more backers have come along, CIG talked about it less, and yeah, you kind of need to look it up here. They actually feature in some of the stories, their lore posts. No. There's an actual lore post where they talk about it, and they give the perspective of the, I'm trying to remember the ships that were involved. I believe one was a Tavaran capital ship hunting a human Nautilus, I think it was. I'm pretty sure it was a human Nautilus, and part of the story was a Tavaran commando does a boarding action on the Nautilus, and this was one of the other things that Tavarans used to do a lot, and which was one of the reasons why humans feared them quite a lot, was their tactics would focus on small unit tactics, so commando-based tactics, where they'd do infiltration onto capital ships, sabotage all the key components just before a battle, and then their capital ships would just show up and engage and smash the human ship. And it was also it's also one of the few lore stories where they talk about how Tavarans actually do their EVA boardings, and it's pretty cool because essentially they use a jetpack. And they'll use a jetpack to get to a ship. normally they'll only send 1 or 2. Get to a ship, mag boot onto it, find a hatch, infiltrate through the hatch, and then they'll start sabotaging the system so that when the humans start getting engaged by the Tavaran capital ships, their shielding, their thrusters, and things like that start failing. And part of the reason why the Tavaran can do that is because they've actually got really good stealth capabilities on their personal armor as well. So, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like the Phalanx system is designed so that you have a shield face that you can move around. You can use it to protect disembarking troops. The thing about it is, though, is that they also used it on their other ships too. Let's keep watching.
Out of the handful of things I would choose to make dropships better in general would be to significantly buff the armor of this ship and dropships. Yes, the Prowler moves like a subcapital, but honestly, if dropships was given a significant amount of hull HP, like around the 50 to 100,000 HP range, then you got a really good tanky dropship that can exist in a hot zone for a very brief period of time. I want to make it clear that the reason
Except that goes against the law of the Tavaran's strengths, which was their shielding. And this is once again another reason why, like, I agree, it's hull HP, it should not be anywhere near what an Ursa Rover's is. It should be way above that. But the shields of the Tavaran ships should be a lot better than what they are. And for a period of time, the shields that used to come on the Talon were the meta shields to use for flight combat, because they had the best ballistic penetration resistance in comparison to all the other shields. The thing about this is that, and once again, it goes back to the whole missing, there's missing tech and missing, it hasn't gone back through its balance pass yet, but if it's supposed to have Phalanx shields, which I'm pretty sure it says in the brochure that it's supposed to, then in essence, when you're conducting a dropship action in a Prowler, you're doing it in a way where you'll have that Phalanx shield and you'll be able to direct it towards the area where the most incoming fire is coming. Here's the thing about this, though, is that the Tavarans, were known for stealth as well. So when it came to them doing their insertions, they weren't doing full-blown assaults where they were like, doing D-Day type assaults where they're dropping troops and there's, directly into the mouths of machine guns. They would be trying to insert as stealthily and as quietly as possible to give their troops the best opportunity to get into, do their infiltration stuff and soften up the target position for when they would actually conduct their assault. And they'd normally do it in a way where as soon as the assault started happening, shit would start going wrong and their dropships just wouldn't be encountering as much fire. But, it's one of those things where it's like, I understand that they want their ship to have a lot more hull HP. I agree. It shouldn't have anywhere near the amount that a rover has. I think it needs the armor. Like, that's what we've all been waiting on for years. Since 2014, they've been talking about the armor system. And I think when they get that, that should be, that should be sufficient for dealing with that particular issue. Because the way that the armor system is supposed to work is that armor is supposed to stop certain projectile sizes. So, for example, taking an arc light and shooting a ship right now, John Crew uses this example. You could take an arc light, if you had infinite ammo, you could shoot and kill an Idris eventually. Well, their armor system is supposed to inform the game servers that if somebody's using a weapon of a certain size against a ship that has a certain armor, it can't penetrate. And that's what you're looking at when it comes to this armor system. That's why, like, CIG doing any sort of balancing when it comes to fly combat, in my mind, is absolutely pointless without the armor system there. Like, they're going to do all this balancing, they'll introduce master modes and all of that, and then they'll put in armor, and then what's going to happen is that it's all going to have to change again. But yeah, this is one of those things where it's like, we're still missing systems. The Prowler's in a pretty bad place, but we're still missing systems, and I don't know if CIG should invest the time in trying to fix this. I understand the enthusiasts want that. I can tell you now, dropships don't get used that often. Not unless you're forcing it.
The reason we are adding HP isn't to increase dogfighting performance. Rather, it's to consider packing dozens of lives into your hull, which would otherwise be easy to kill. So let's talk about why I would set dropships upper and lower limits between 50k and 100k hull HP. Considering that the 600i has similar handling and price costs to the Prowler and Valkyrie, I would consider having the upper limit be set to around 100k HP. We can also consider that the Redeemer's hull HP is 102k. Again, the Redeemer utilizes its turrets to help fend off any trouble it encounters, without utilizing maneuverability to occupy its air dominance. Next, let's discuss the lower limits. If we take a look at heavy fighters like the Vanguard series and the Scorpius, which exist around the 40k range, we could see that their primary role is to provide a better offense and dogfighting capabilities, both of which are dual-seater fighters that can easily circle any one of these dropships. By having dropships placed at a minimum of 50k, I think that they would all receive a great quality of life update true to their role. I believe that the dropships will not be able to contend against these ships given the substantial difference to the dropship's maneuverabilities. Specifically for the Prowler, it will have to continue to rely on the turret and the Talons to help counter a light fighter assault or heavy fighter assault, which is ideal. With all of this information in mind, let's take a look at actual HP stats for the dropships. It's very easy to see that the best dropship money could buy is quite literally at the bottom, underneath the earth.
Well, you guys can't see those stats. Right, let me move some things. Stats. Alright, so we've got the HP there. I think the only ship that came out before it was Valkyrie. Actually, no, the Hoplite was out before it too. I'm gonna go back and start listening to his point again.
Dropships. It's very easy to see that the best dropship money could buy is quite literally at the bottom, underneath the Ursa rover. Some discussions I hear regularly is how no one wants to risk putting 18 lives into a Drake Cutlass Steel because of how paper thin their armor is supposed to be. But how do you think Prowler owners feel when its HP is still roughly 2/3 of that? Yes, the Prowler needs a buff, but so does all the other dropships. Dropships should have a significant amount of armor. A dropship's armor instills confidence in your platoon that it's going to survive the infiltration and extraction. Currently, the only ship that I have confidence in is literally the Terrapin with 113k hull HP.
I feel like they're kind of forgetting the point of what the Tavaran's strength was. Like, I understand them wanting their ship to be a bit more tankier so it can survive, you know, something. And it should be higher than a rover, 100%. But the like, if you look at the lore of the Tavaran, their thing was stealth in their shields. Their whole armor wasn't that great. Once you were able to get through their shields, you pretty much had them. That's what humanity worked out. That's how they eventually developed tactics to exploit those weaknesses. They would use flanking maneuvers on the Tavarans, draw their attention on one area, and then hit them from another part on the inside, on the lightly shielded areas of their ships. Like, it should be higher than the rovers. I would say, like, where the Valkyrie and the Hoplite are, it should be above the Cutlass Steel. I'd put it closer to where the Valkyrie is, but like the Valkyrie's HP is still too low. Like that Hoplite's HP is where I reckon it should be at, but that Valkyrie should be like up to 60 to 70,000, and then bring the Prowler up to closer to that. But yeah, like I feel like this person is expecting to be dropping their troops all the time into hot zones and not leverage the strength of what the ship is supposed to be capable of. The Steel should have more HP as it has less stealth factor. That's where its armor should be coming into play. That's the thing, like, we're talking about base hull strengths. And the Steel is just a variant of the Cutlass frame, which really is just a Cutlass Black that had some jump seats put inside and some turrets slapped on the outside. Like, its strength it's literally a retrofitted Cutlass Black. Which is why I always I made a meme of a Cutlass Black drop seat, and it was just a black folding chair. Just put those in there. You'll fit more. But yeah, I get the impression of this guy, like he wants to be using the Prowler in a more direct, direct action type dropship scenarios, which isn't supposed to be their strength. It's not really part of the Tavaran combat philosophy. Like, doing direct assaults is one of the things that they don't like to do. They prefer to do indirect fighting. You know, kind of getting annoying that he keeps talking about the Prowler being the best dropship you can buy for money, because the Hoplite does the job perfectly fine. Pretty much any ship that's capable of carrying troops can be a dropship. I'm pretty sure the Valkyrie is actually less than the Prowler.
CIG make dropships more tanky for the time being, especially for the Prowler while stealth is being worked on. It's literally one value. Dropships in general are in dire need of attention and reevaluation. I would give the Valkyrie 100k HP, the Prowler somewhere between 60 and 80k HP, the Cutlass Steel about 50 to 70k HP, and literally no one is complaining about the Vanguard series. The Hoplite should just stay as it is because it's literally a heavy dogfighter. Personally, I would love to see the Prowler's maneuverability buffed, but I think that increasing the whole HP is the way to go. I think too many people are going to cry if the speed is increased significantly. A subtle change would kind of be recommended. Again, I am making this video because I will continue to fly the Prowler regardless of the state that it's in. You could also see on my channel that I've been reporting specifically on the state of the Prowler for years now and will continue to do so. I would also recommend anyone interested in flying Prowlers or Talons together to join my Discord, because we are literally amassing a Tavaran alien fleet called Dream Squad, and we got around 40 players enlisted officially. There is absolutely no requirements to join, meaning that you don't have to have any specific ship or schedule. It's a very casual org. If you are already in an org, hey, no worries. You could always just join our Discord and have a chat with us, or join up when our fleet mobilizes. Please subscribe, because I am currently halfway to monetization at 500 subscribers. That would really help out, and I'll see you guys at Alien Week.
I don't like how he didn't do any other like cinematic shots of it. This is a point that I want to talk about with a Prowler. Let me go back here. Let's have a look. Alright, this is a pretty good picture here. I don't like these wings at all. And there's a reason for it. So all the firepower is facing to the front, right? It's facing to the front. So if you are doing a hot drop, you're going to be dropping your troops into a firefight. And what you're going to want to do is have your guns firing to provide them cover fire. Well, all the protection for the troops is on the flanks, which when you're doing an assault on a static position, most of the time you don't have enfilade fire happening on your assaulting force, because you'll have a frontage that you attack with. So it's really difficult to get enfilade fire, and enfilade fire is just fire from an angle. It's really hard to get enfilade fire onto an assaulting force when you're firing from a static position, unless your static position envelops where your the assaulting force is being dropped, in which case they fucking putting themselves in the middle of a kill zone, which is really dumb, and they'll probably die in the fight anyway. The problem that I have here is that all the firepower is facing forward for the ship, but the protection for the troops as they get out of the ship is to the flanks to stop enfilade fire from happening, right? Doesn't help them at all, though, because normally the direction that they're going to be fighting towards is going to be forward. Like, you drop your troops in a way that you can maintain your firepower on the position whilst also providing them as much protection as possible. Well, I don't like these wings here. That wing there, if you're looking at the cursor. Because it provides good flanking protection as the guys jump out the sides, but their position is probably going to be up here, off in the distance. Let's just say the top of the hill there. They're getting dropped, and the area where they need cover the most as they're getting out before they take up a fire position is fucking exposed. So my thought process was that this really should actually not be trying to provide protection to the flanks, but actually be trying to provide protection forward of the ship. So these winglets here should actually be jutting out forward. Kind of like how a hen will actually cover up their chicks by swooping their wings forward. That's what I think that the Tavaran Prowler's wings should actually do. Is when they go into a landing position, these winglets here should actually be sweeping forward to provide frontal protection for the troops that are disembarking, allowing the pilot and co-pilot to keep suppressor fire going downrange, providing proper hard cover for the troops who are disembarking, so that they can then take up their fire positions under relative protection, so that once the Prowler actually takes off, they can start doing their assault. The other thing as well, and it doesn't really get spoken about in this video, but the Tavaran ship is actually supposed to utilize these grav-led pads, which is supposed to let it hover above the ground, creating as much or little heat as possible, reducing the signature of the actual ship. The other thing about those grav-led pads, though, and this comes from the mindset of conducting an assault on a hardened enemy position, is that once the Prowler lands and it's using those gravlevs, it can stay close to the ground and just hover there with relative ease. And it can, I would like to think that this is CIG's aim, but you could utilize it almost like a hover tank where you have your troops disembark and then they start conducting the assault and your Prowler kind of just hovers along the ground providing suppressive fire at the same time. Now, with the current configuration that the Prowler works at though, these troops who want to conduct that assault would still be exposed. They'd still be exposed to incoming fire. Their flanks would be okay, but if you're conducting an assault on a hardened position, like old mate wants to do in this video, then you don't really need to worry too much about your flanking protection. As especially if you're in the middle ships, you need to worry about frontal protection. So having those wings sweep forward provides some sort of cover or frontal cover so that they can take up fire positions, fire from behind that cover as the ship keeps moving forward. Grav elevators for drops. Well, they have mentioned, was it the ISC with the tractor beams and that? They did showcase a tractor beam capable of like pulling up people. I don't know if they're actually going to do it, but it's always a possibility. Yeah, like it's one of my bugbears for the Prowler's design. But there's a video there, guys. If you haven't watched it yet, feel free. Go check it out. Subscribe to old mate. It's not a bad video. It's quite clear that they've got an agenda to push, but they want their ship to actually function better than what it does. Can't blame them for that. There was a question earlier that I said that I was going to answer. Where is it? There we go. PFA Sea Hunter. Dumb question. I'm new to Star Citizen about 3 weeks now. If you get a minute, could you tell me how to go about joining a pirate? Joining a pirate org is pretty straightforward. Just if they're recruiting, apply to join. It really just comes down to finding a pirate org worth joining. Mongrel Squad has a range of standards that we expect people to be able to meet before they join Mongrel Squad. However, what we do where is it? There it is. What we do have is a casual piracy organization that's aimed at newer players that you could look at joining, called the Mongrel Auxiliaries. Now that's our public Guilded server there. We use Guilded for org management and VoIP at the moment, although we are moving to TeamSpeak. It's been a bit of a battle to get to this point with TeamSpeak where we could actually start utilizing it. I'm going to be using Mongrel Squad as guinea pigs for testing out the server first before I get the rest of the Mongrel Corps to join on it, but the goal is that we'll use TeamSpeak for VoIP comms. But yeah, like we've got the Mongrel Auxiliary, so if you're interested in piracy gameplay, interested in trying it out, interested in learning about piracy gameplay, that's the place to go. Join the Mongrel Auxiliaries. Mongrel Squad plays with them as well. So it's one of those situations where if we think that a player isn't going to meet the standards that we've got for Mongrel Squad, we'll redirect them to the auxiliaries so that they can play, learn in a more casual and, for lack of a better term, really easier environment. With Mongrel Squad, we have expectations on performance. So you'll be expected to, achieve competencies. You'll be expected to show up for training sessions, learn how we do piracy, so that you can operate within the teams. And if you don't meet the starting standard, and we brought you in and put all those expectations on you, you would struggle to keep up. Because a lot of it's specific to Star Citizen, and a lot of it has to do with the way that we do piracy, utilizing tactics and game systems in ways that, whilst they're intended to work like the way that we use them, no one else in the game, or nothing else in the game, requires you to use those tactics or those game systems the way that we do. So it's one of those situations where it's like, it's easier to ease yourself into piracy. Piracy is a profession where you're gonna, there's no tutorials on how to do it. There's no, in-game missions that explain how you do piracy against other players. It's just something that we've developed over time. We've seen the opportunity, we've, connected all the dots, and we're going, hey, we can actually make something out of this, and then that's what we've pushed for. Whereas with bounty hunting, you got markers. With trade, you've got the terminals, you got the consoles. As long as you got people who communicate with each other, it's just moving boxes from one place to another. With mining, it's the same case. With piracy, though, it's like you need to learn how to hunt players properly. We do more hunting than what bounty hunters do. You need to learn how to interdict players, how boarding actions work, how to use the snare, use the dampener, distortion weapons, how disabling ships works. Boarding actions can vary in complexity depending on if you do it in space or on the ground of a planet or moon. There's a range of things. And you'll see people who will do piracy, and it looks easy until you actually start trying to do it. And then what you'll learn is that it's a lot harder than what it actually appears to be. And that's because we're going up against other players who come at us with different mindset, different tactics. Some people will just Alt F4 out, others will try and fight back, and they'll call in friends, and it turns into a great gameplay session. Yeah, that hopefully gives you a starting point. There's also other piracy orgs there. If you look up Star Citizen Piracy on YouTube and on Google, you'll start finding other piracy groups as well. And you can, give them a go. Righty then. So we're going to move on to the next bit of content here, guys. The next bit of content comes from Star Citizen. It's RSI. It's the latest inside Star Citizen that we're going to be reacting to. Yes, there is a lot of salt that you'll get. Turns out stealing other people's shit makes them very emotional. I'm pretty sure most of you watched it. I've also watched this one, but I'm going to watch it again because I watched last week's. I want to watch this one again. When I watched it, I was kind of just relaxing, mind neutral, not really thinking or absorbing the information that much. So there were a couple of things that stood out to me, but not a lot. So yeah, let's watch Inside Star Citizen Arena Reborn Part 2.
I'm still here, still trying to learn what all the buttons do. So while I'm at it, let's not waste any more of your time and get you all right into part 2 of this enormous Arena Commander update that's scheduled to make its way to you in the upcoming Alpha 320, and I'll be right here when you get back.
Do your best Jared impersonation.
Oh, I don't want
Last time on Inside Star Citizen.
Just yell really loud. Last time on Inside Star Citizen. I don't even know what accent that was.
Are you excited to be doing 2 ISCs in a row?
It took me over 80 minutes in what we had only scheduled to be an hour to film what was probably a 15-minute episode. I'm sorry. Especially to Jared's team. Sorry, guys. It's awesome to be getting such attention shone on Arena Commander, and I'm excited to finally bring it up to what I believe it has potential to be. I get pinged like every other week asking to put Atmosphere in Arena Commander, and now they finally have it, they can stop whining. They're going to whine about something else. I can't stop the whining, but I hope you liked it. So last ISC, we talked a lot about flight, but there's two other major parts that we want to be talking about here. And the first is FPS combat. So FPS combat in Arena Commander is so important because you need a place to practice shooting each other without actually dying for real, like you do in the Persistent Universe. So we need to make that experience as close to the Persistent Universe while still having it be fun and unique. So you access Star Marine game modes exactly the same as we showed last week with the new front end, new lobby system, and jump straight into the action.
Yeah, well, that's just it. Like, CIG is well aware of people whining. I'm surprised, though, that it's taken them this long to get to this point. Maybe it was because they didn't have enough manpower to be able to, you know, focus the team on Arena Commander. But, yeah. It's kind of interesting. I'm surprised that we haven't seen any sort of backlash. I haven't noticed anything on Spectrum. You know, like, oh, there's devs telling us that we're all whining or anything like that. Because normally when a dev says anything like, you know, negative towards backers, you know, there's always these, you know, vocal minorities that will pipe up and start, you know, throwing back. He's calling out the devs whining. There's more than devs whining at him for his pings. He gets pinged on Discord as well. Like, he's in a few Discords. Few org Discords. We'll be getting pinged by them too about atmospheric maps.
So with our existing maps, the VFX team are helping us out and doing a pass over everything. So it might not be finalized in the footage that you're seeing here, but we're excited to see where they can take it and uplift all of our levels because they're in need of a facelift. And we've been working hard on fixing a lot of the bugs and frustrations across the maps.
All I know is they did a lot of bug fixes recently. I don't know, we're not meant to just say bug fixes. Fixing doors that weren't meant to be there, resolving the fact that you could just smash through the glass which you're not meant to be able to smash through, and just go into EVA in the middle of elimination, which is bad. Being able to get into areas you shouldn't be able to get into.
So we fix those up. In terms of new maps, we've got a variation on a fan favourite, Echo 11. We're introducing that to Elimination. Echo 11 is quite a big map for Control. For Elimination, we've tightened it up. We've cut off access to the D room and some of A room and made it a little bit smaller so that the action can be more compact and suitable for Elimination. So last week we showed off Security Post Korea being introduced to dogfighting maps, but we've also introduced it to FPS maps, so you'll be able to play Elimination, Control and some of the new game modes on Korea itself. So to recap, for Star Marine you'll be able to play on the Good Doctor, a larger version of Echo 11 for Control, small one for Elimination, and the same for Damien and get Damien Comms, as well as Security Post Korea, which is being introduced to Elimination and Control.
SPK. I always maintained that SPK needed to be a bloody Star Marine map. And I'm glad that they're bringing it in. I'm a bit disappointed though that it's only SPK is really the new area that they're introducing. Like, them talking about, was it Echo 11 and closing parts of it down for Elimination, I think it was. That's still kind of meh because not many people like that map anyway. Like, they could create, you know, like, what is it? They've only got one terrestrial map, which is the Good Doctor. Like, they could have had, you know, just one of the salvage yards. You know, just do a salvage yard. They don't even need to build it out. They can just literally plonk it down on a bit of, you know, dirt and go, there you go, there's the map there. Have fun. Or, you know, a couple of bunkers. Do a bunker type map. Where you got, you know, above ground and below ground. Although I think they'll probably wait until they do their outpost revamps. Because I think like even the outposts themselves could be a FPS map that they could use. Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that they didn't do the salvage yards.
So with the Good Doctor, at some point along the line, all the trees disappeared. So designers went in and restored that, so it's back in this beautiful oasis area that it's meant to be in, and fixed the lighting and various other issues that just happened over time. I don't know how. And now Good Doctor's looking beautiful again. So Star Marine is a personal favourite of mine. I love FPS combat, and I'm so excited to be working on more additions to the FPS area of Arena Commander. And that leads us to something I'm super excited to talk about, and that's experimental modes.
Experimental modes are important because it allows us to get back into what the real meaning of Arena Commander used to be, which is playtesting and making sure that things that are made for the PU and Arena Commander and Squadron work the way they're meant to. It allows us to put stuff into a testing environment where we can quickly check if just something works the way we want it to, essentially.
Somewhere along the line, we lost that, and when we formed the Arena Commander feature team, we knew that Arena Commander has to stand on its own and have these flagship game modes and new things that are unique to Arena Commander, but we still want to support the persistent universe and other ventures that we go on. Experimental modes are important to us because it gets things in your hands quicker. Instead of waiting for these big, huge game modes to release, we can test things out periodically for a day, a week, a month, and get it into your hands sooner rather than later. So let's dive in and take a look at some of the experimental modes that we have been working on. The first experimental mode is single weapon elimination, so you can jump in with what will be pistols at first.
From a developer's standpoint, single weapon elimination gives us the opportunity to really test weapons that we want to get tested. It allows us to check every single part of the weapon balancing and make
These are what we do for our morale events. Sometimes we go, all right, knives only. And everybody else would have to unequip their weapons. You'd only be allowed to use a knife. It would all run into Arena Commander and just be Star Marine and just run around stabbing each other, trying to get those knife kills. Unfortunately, because of the desync and shitty loadout editor, we kind of stopped doing it because it was too difficult. And then somebody would load in with a fucking, proper loadout, and they'd have a gun, and then they'd pull that out, and then it'd be everybody go kill that guy. And we'd mob anybody, like if anybody outside of Mongrel Squad joined on the map and they weren't in comms with us, we would, it would just be hunt that guy down and everybody stab. And this guy would, like, whoever was there would be just getting bum rushed by people in flight suits and knives. It's quite funny. But yeah, like, I'm looking forward to this because, they were showing the grenade launcher there. I'm hoping that we can choose. I think they said that you could. Let's keep watching. I think they said that you can choose the weapon that you do this with.
Make sure that it works just right. We know that players want to test their skill against each other, and the best way to do that is to make sure everyone's equal. So everyone gets the same weapons, everyone gets the weakest weapons in our first version, and they get to just see who's better than the other.
With 320, we're introducing pistol-only elimination, and that will be the arc-light pistol, and it's a personal favourite of mine. It adds increased time to kill, and it came originally from playing with you guys, the community. And at the end of a long session of Star Marine, someone threw out the idea of, like, what, can we do like a pistol-only round? And I just had so much fun with that. We ended up playing for at least another hour. So that mode is inspired by that. So for this patch, it's just pistols only, but we can change it up at any point. It's simple parameters. And if the weapons team come to us with a new weapon they want to test out,
why not just let us choose what we want to do? Like, this feels like something that should just be built into the system where you can just go, all right, This is the map. The weapons that are permitted are these types, and then that's it. Go. I don't like how they're going, oh yeah, it's only this type of match. It's like, why are we not being given the tools so that we can create our own fun? For fuck's sakes, stop trying to tell us how to play your game. Let us play it the way that we want.
They want to get that analytic data, they want to get the fun factor. We can put it into Arena Commander, whatever that weapon is only, and see how you guys like it.
The next experimental mode that we're working on is Gun Rush.
Now, names are temporary. They might change between now and release. But Gun Rush is where you start off with a pistol, and as you get a kill, it upgrades you.
And then with every kill, you go to the next type of gun. You go through LMGs, SMGs.
Some special weapons, I won't spoil.
Snipers, and even the rail.
And then we've put some surprises in there for whoever gets to the last round. So Gun Rush, as the name might suggest, is super fast-paced. It lets you get your hands on many different weapons as you cycle through them and get some experience with stuff that you hadn't had. For example, I had no idea how to use shotguns. Still don't really, but I'm a little bit better at them now thanks to Gun Rush. So Gun Rush is only possible thanks to the refactors we've been doing to the spawning and loadout modules. So we can, instead of refreshing your entire loadout, switch out just the gun, and it's super fast now, whereas before it was a bit of a clunky thing to do.
In the next experimental mode, we're bringing ground vehicles to Arena Commander, and that is Tonk Royale.
So there's going to be 3 locations for Tonk Royale. It's going to be Hurston, Yella, and Magna. So how it works is simply we have a massive arena, we drop you in on these 3 various maps, and you just go to town. There's going to be 3 versions of Tonk Royale. First is a classic elimination deathmatch, respawns, just get as high score as you can. Second is squadron battle, so you are team versus team tanks. In squadron battle, it's super exciting because you can run as just the driver, or you can join one of your teammates and be their gunner. And then the third is still being worked on. I'm not sure if it's going to be making this release, but super excited about it, is hardcore elimination. So essentially elimination, but you've only got the single life. When a Turbo Storm gets introduced to the verse, we'll be sure to add that to Tonk Royale as well. After
I like that they're doing it. What I don't like is that it's dictated to be only that. Like, they've already got the ingredients there to do open PvP-based maps where you could have ground vehicles and players in FPS playing together. Yeah, they've almost got all the components there for Theaters of War. And I know a lot of people are like, well, where's Theaters of War? I thought you guys would be revealing that here. It's like, well, clearly CIG isn't. Can't talk about why they wouldn't have done it based on my own experiences with Theaters of War. But, yeah, it's... I kind of get why they didn't do it. But at the same time, I don't understand why they're not trying to push in the direction of facilitating, large-scale PvP combined arms combat, even if it's not Theaters of War. Feels like they're wasting, like they've invested time into things that they could get done really, really quickly, just to get something out the door, in the hopes that backers will like it. Like the tank Royale thing, like people were already doing it. They're already doing that in the PU. The main reason why it didn't happen as frequently was because of the amount of time and effort that it takes to set it all up. So by being able to do it in Arena Commander through whatever module they're calling it now, makes it a lot easier for them, to set up these matches. My problem is, though, is that I look at that and I'm like, well, why can't we also go FPS as well? Oh, it's not the game mode. It's like, well, where's the game mode that allows us to do both? Why isn't there a game mode that allows us to do both? How much time did they actually spend on this? Because if this was done in a single patch cycle, which is possible but highly unlikely. I would have preferred them invest the time and effort into providing us a UI that allows us to be able to pick what we want to do, as opposed to them dictating to us what we can and can't do. Not a big fan of that. I'm a big fan of emergent gameplay and, you know, player agency. Zelda, hello. How's your holiday, mate? Theaters of War would be fun. Completely broken from a balancing point of view. Yeah. The balancing for Theaters of War would be pretty intense. That's why I'm like, Joe, just do a combined arms team deathmatch. Doesn't need to be complicated. Just combined arms, team deathmatch, and just have a ticket system that winds down, and whoever still has tickets at the end of the match wins. See you later, Adrian. It's good to hear that your holiday's going well. No, Telva. Yeah, I feel like CRG's kind of... they're kind of giving players what they want by watching, you know, content creators do things. Yeah, Telva, it was. Like, it was supposed to test combined arms combat, but they wanted to turn it into a game mode as well. That, you know, had more substance in it to it, and that you could just jump in, do a quick half-hour match, and then leave. But I think they made it a bit too complex for what they really needed to put out there to achieve their goal. You know, just ended up with feature creep. Like, I'm just surprised that they're not doing a combined arms team deathmatch map, or maps, or game mode. That's it. That's really what players want. A combined arms team deathmatch. What, you know, two sides, but give vehicles, give ground bloody weapons. Don't even worry about proper loadouts or anything like that. You go in with what you want. If you want to change it up, you know, just go back to menu, change up your loadout, and go back in. I feel like sometimes CIG complicates things a bit too much instead of just going, all right, let's provide, you know, a system for the players to create their own gameplay. And I know people go nuts for that, you know, just a combined arms team deathmatch. I know we would be utilizing it. We'd be utilizing it for training. If we could do it for ships too, hell yeah. Like, boarding training becomes a lot easier to do. Practicing boarding actions, practicing counter border actions. It feels like they keep adding things with the viewpoint of like trying to control the gameplay. And they need to stop doing that. They need to just let players make the decisions, you know, give them the agency and just play the game.
For 320, we'll also be finishing off our racing refactor, which allow us to make maps faster and merges PU and AC racing systems together. It's going to be a more streamlined process for us, our designers, and a better experience for you, less buggy on both ends. So with the racing refactor, we've also been working on a betting module, which will let you bet on races. Now, we haven't got all of that signed off, but excited to get that in if we can. So just like the persistent universe, all of these maps, game modes, and features need to have their own individual go no-goes. At the time of recording this, we've got some successful goes for Alpha 320 for the following: the new Arena Commander front end, the new lobby system, the new spawning system which allows for multi-crew gameplay, new def cameras and def recaps, a revamped scoreboard and scoring system, 4 new racetracks for the new Horizon Speedway, Old Vanderval, Rickard Memorial, Defford Link and Halloran Circuit, in addition to the 4 PU racetracks, the Snake Pit, Miner's Lament, Yadar Valley, and Icebreaker.
One of the things I want to know is, like, on those maps, are we able to just, like, How far away can we go away from the actual racing track before it pulls us back or stops us from being able to go any further? I just want to know. I want to see, like, what the gameplay area is actually like.
The Jericho Station dogfighting map, Security Post Curator with dogfighting and FPS maps, the new Pirate Swarm Final Wave Capital Battle, the new Echo 11 elimination map, and new experimental game modes like single weapon elimination, gun rush, Tonk Royale, elimination and squadron battle versions, and finally a new infinite wave Vandal Swarm you'll discover for yourself. So that about does it this week. I'm so excited to share all these cool developments with Arena Commander, and got the list here. I just want to give a shout out back to Adam, Adrian, Bryn, Corwin, Kirk, Mark, Ricky, Samuel, and Sean and Simon and the Arena Commander feature team. I'm sitting here in front of the camera, but man, the work it's thanks to this amazing team that I have. And I just couldn't say no to Jared because he's my dungeon master and I really don't want him to kill my character.
I'm just looking forward to being able to do a fucking railguns only or a rocket launchers only match. Or grenade launchers only match. Which is why I want the ability to choose that, because I don't want to have to wait on CRG.
So, what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that changes to FPS maps should make for a more varied experience in Star Marine game modes. That the first ground vehicles are finally arriving with Tonk Royale. And that we hope the new experimental modes will function not unlike dynamic events for the persistent universe, where they can provide timed, direct experiences the team can use for analytics and feedback from things as small as a single pistol, to a brand new vehicle, to even curious experiences like Gun Rush, and a few more things that we're not quite ready to share just yet. Also, if you missed last week's show, go check that out and see everything else that's coming your way from the new Arena Commander feature team in the upcoming Alpha 320. There's some fun stuff in there. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for exploring the process of game development with us, and we'll see you all here next week.
No, this is a retention test. Let's see how much of their audience is actually watching all the way through to the end.
There isn't going to be a post-credits thing in every show.
So what did you all think of that episode there? What did you all think of that one? Second episode was a letdown. What makes you say that, Watermelon? We saw it all in the first episode. They didn't show us any of the Star Marine stuff. I think the problem is that I bumped my mic and now it's starting to move. I personally think the issue with the second episode here is that it didn't really show anything that was as exciting as the first episode. You knew about the maps and test modes. We all had a feeling that there was going to be extra stuff there because they kind of, you know, hinted at it in the first episode. Was Kenny? I think the issue that I had with it was that all the exciting stuff was in the first episode, with them just going, oh yeah, we've got Star Marine stuff coming in. What I don't like about the Star Marine thing is that it doesn't seem to be focused on providing player agency. Yeah, well, yeah, it's the fact that they've revisited Arena Commander and Star Marine after kind of neglecting them for so long is a huge win for the entire community. I hope what this means is that they're going to be focusing a bit more attention on them. You know, in not only maintaining them, but also improving them and adding to them. As opposed to, you know, what we've currently got now, where it's just a thing that's in the background. You know, it was the starting module that, you know, kind of got people into the game and playing and actually doing something, and then once the PU came out, it just got neglected. I hope that it actually, you know, just keeps getting updates. My biggest thing, and this is where I'd like CIG to really push towards, is player agency. You know, give us the ability just to, you know, do private matches where we, you know, spawn in the ships that we want on a map that we want with the vehicles that we want and the weapons that we want, and just let us do our own thing. You know, don't worry about trying to make it into a game mode. Don't worry about timers. Don't worry about trying to restrict things for us. Just let us do what we want. Because what you're going to see is, like, you know, the content creators in 320, what's going to happen is the content creators are going to come in. They're going to go into the new Arena Commander. They're going to, you know, like, do Tank Royale. They'll do Gun Rush. Gun Rush is going to become pretty big, I reckon, for a while. Single weapon elimination will just be thrown in as something that, you know, streamers do when they're bored of the other game modes. Some of them will do Arena Commander, but it seems like the Star Marine stuff will get more focused because it's FPS stuff and people are more familiar with it. What we'll start seeing afterwards, though, is players, the community, asking for more and saying, why can't we have, you know, bloody more choices? Why can't, you know, based on your Tank Royale map, you know, like, you've got the ground vehicles there, you have Star Marine, you know, which means that you've got all the player spawn point stuff sorted out there. Why is there no, like, open terrestrial ground map for FPS combat? Yeah. Juan, hello. All you want is a harpoon? That's all I've wanted, Juan. That's all I want, is just a harpoon for ship boardings. Are you talking about, like, a personal harpoon? Because I'm talking about a ship-based one. But yeah, I really hope that CIG moves towards focusing on player agency as opposed to trying to give us canned content all the time. Like, I'm curious as to why. Drake's answer to tractor beams. That should be the product tagline for the harpoon. Drake harpoon. The Drake harpoon. Drake's answer to tractor beams. You want to pull something closer? Shoot it with a harpoon and then reel it in. You can just imagine moving boxes like that. Oh, but I'm looking forward to the Arena Commander updates anyway. As you can see, I'm boarding team ready. Wow. Hopefully CIG look at implementing that. More focused on boarding actions. Or giving us the ability to practice boarding actions. I really want that. Honestly, I think we just need to make a Spectrum post. And then just upvote the shit out of it, brigade it. Upvote the shit out of it and get it, you know, get it more traction. I think I might spend some time doing that today, as well as working on a video. Speaking of videos, let's move on. So the next video that we're going to be reacting to here, guys, is... Thank you, Ranger. Morning, John Don. Next bit of content that we're reacting to comes from Hawks Gaming, and it's about his favorite trade route. Not gonna lie, kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel when it comes to Star Citizen content. Looking for things that doesn't come from Mongrel Squad members, because that focuses on gameplay. Outside of people doing like 3 to 5 hour streams of them playing the game, there's not many other content creators out there that are doing gameplay stuff. Which is why, you know, it's a bit frustrating. And it kind of motivated me to start working on more of our videos. The problem is that the last video that I was working on, I got to a certain point with it and I realized that this was a pretty boring and generic hit. It would make a better short than it would a long format video. So I'm going to turn that one into a short, but shorts take longer. It's ironic with gameplay videos. Shorts take longer to turn into a video if you take it from gameplay, in the sense of Piracy gameplay, because Piracy gameplay pretty much has find the target, engage the target, and then profit. Well, condensing that all down into 59 seconds is really, really fucking hard with the amount of shit that happens in a Piracy hit. So the Piracy hits need to be quite generic and, you know, with very small amounts of nuance in it. Ranger, I don't understand the question. Oh, Scarlet, yeah, like, I haven't seen much from Scarlet lately. Part of the problem is that a lot of content creators who do streaming don't cut their content down. And I know why, because it takes a long time, especially if you're taking it from a stream. You know, Twitch actually does it pretty well, where you can create highlights, but you need to go back and highlight the content, and then you can import it across to YouTube. The only problem with doing that, though, is that you can't do any extra editing. So you can't add like intro screens, outro screens, unless you burn it into the actual stream itself. Which is why DG360 does his streams the way that he does. But yeah. Ranger, you're still not making sense. And a lot of people would be inspired if you did. Yeah. Well, that's one of the problems I think that a lot of content creators have as well, is when they put their videos out there, they're hoping or expecting a lot of people to just watch their videos. And, you know, it's the curse of the content creator, is that on platforms like YouTube and Twitch and all that, we've got a lot of, you know, people. It's easy access to being able to do content creation. The hardest part of it, though, is creating content that people actually want to watch. And that's one of the biggest things, is like people complain about the YouTube algorithm. I'm going a bit off topic here. But people complain about the YouTube algorithm in the sense like, oh, it's the algorithm's fault. And it's not. It's your content's fault. You need to make stuff that people want to watch. Ranger, unless you give more context, mate, I'm just going to start ignoring you. 5:30 doesn't mean anything to me. Yeah, like when it comes to content creation, like you need to make things that people want to watch, and you need a hook at the start. Your thumbnail and title needs to create curiosity and intrigue people, and that's a really hard thing to do. You know, like we've been doing the cinematic thumbnails, and we may end up moving away from those. Al Gore's rhythm. Enter. Hello. The algorithm, yeah, it's one of those things that people complain about, but really, if people want to watch your content, they will. You just need to get it out there. Consistency is the key as well. Just put stuff out there. You're going to get low views to start off with, and then over time, it'll build up. If you look at a lot of the... Yeah, I'm not subscribing to your Ranger. You have to create, like, with what we did, like, there was a period of time where we were putting out 3 videos a week. And it was a hard slog. It was a hard slog doing 3 videos a week. It's fortunate that I had Dobbs helping me out, so the work balance was... the work balance between the two of us was kind of mitigated, but putting 3 videos out a week was a hard slog. And with doing that, though, we built up a library of videos for people to watch. And it kind of, you know, Salty Mike says that our videos are binge-worthy. And if you can create binge-worthy videos, then, you know, you got something going good there. Part of the problem, though, especially on our channel, and I'll say this now, is that all of our piracy hits either end up in our success or the game fucks us over. We haven't been in a position where we've been soundly beaten and been able to turn it into a video. Like, there's been times where we've had our asses kicked in PvP, but it's not video worthy because the fight happens so quickly and it's over so quickly when that sort of stuff happens that we're just like, I can't turn this into something. And it doesn't actually help create content, especially content that fits along the lines of piracy gameplay. So we end up in this position where it's like we want people to fight back against us. We want people to fight back against us, but we are in this position where a lot of them just aren't prepared for it. We may see, you know, like content improve in when we get server meshing, but realistically, it's going to be slow goings for a while. Which is why when it comes to the content that we're trying to put out now, we're trying to look for the nuances, the differences in the piracy hits, the things that make them unique. So we're always trying to get, you know, boarding actions in. We're always trying to showcase, you know, like the flight combat. So if there ends up being a fight, yeah, that's Citizen Kate there, John Don. Citizen Kate, who she does a wide variety of content with her org. They, like, you know, they've done a whole bunch of different things. Their gameplay, I wouldn't say it's very canned, but they do shape their experiences a lot more with their gameplay. They have an objective and they'll play it out, which isn't too bad. But with us, you know, like with the way that things go in, you know, Star Citizen, I want to try and keep as authentic to the gameplay as possible. So, you know, like whoever we're going up against, we have no idea what's going to happen. You know, we go in there with, you know, our side and what we know what we're going to do. We have no idea what the opponent's going to do. Nothing at all, which is the way that the game plays. I have answer. Like, it's a consideration that I've made. For me, it's about finding time. Because we've got plenty of footage. Footage isn't the issue. It's finding the time to edit it all in, cut it, make it look somewhat interesting. Like, I have the intent on creating recruitment videos, especially for the cartel. Our cartel's lacking members. So I want to create a recruitment video for them to show, you know, the player base, what you can do to actually smuggle. Hire a dedicated editor. Hiring a dedicated editor is one of those things where it's like, to get a good editor, you're going to have to pay for it. But the other thing as well is to get the kind of content that you want is another thing all on its own, because you have to train someone. Like Dobbs and I, we developed the style of how we do the videos for YouTube because we have a specific way that we want to tell the story of our hits. We want to make sure that we're highlighting specific things. So when it comes to how we actually do our editing, if we did bring other people in, we would have to explain to them and show them. And the majority of YouTube editors, the way that they like to edit their things, they follow the trends. And there's a reason why they follow the trends, because it gets the views and it gets them the money. But for what I want to have our videos structured as, the videos themselves are being done in a way that are closer to content creators who do survival gameplay videos, as opposed to fast-paced, run and gun shoot 'em gameplay, which is what a lot of people are expecting of Star Citizen at the moment. Where is Dobbs? Dobbs is on a break. Yeah, Dobbs is on a break. Fix VoIP and implement risk? Yeah, maybe. Like, I think when we get server meshing, that's when we're going to see the player base actually interacting more and them trying to fight back. Like, the fishbowl stays the same size, but all the fish get shoved into the same one. And it becomes a lot more of a competitive space. Do I have a guide or tips for OBS for the sysorgs? No, I don't. Pretty much, with the sysorgs, I'm not collecting their content, so if we do anything with them, it would be stuff that we collect as Mongrel Squad. Dubs is great at being the hype man. Yeah. To be honest, Watermelon, I guarantee that would happen. I guarantee that would happen purely because of the fights. If, like, there was zerging going on, the smaller orgs, like I know a bunch of pirate orgs would actually be like, alright, we gotta go deal with this zerging org. We'd all band up, go and smash them. But that's on a as needed basis. Anyway, we've gotten slightly distracted. What we're going to watch here is a video from Hawks Gaming. It's his favorite trading route in Star Citizen 319, Making Money Fast, Trading Guide for Star Citizen 2023. And this was one of the points that I wanted to make, is that a lot of what's going out on about Star Citizen content is actually guides for making credits. But we've watched Hawk's stuff before. His stuff is actually pretty reliable in terms of getting people doing things to make credits in game, especially when it comes to industrial gameplay, which is why we're going to watch it.
Let me show you how to make money fast doing trading in Star Citizen 319.
Dollar bills.
I don't know if you can keep a secret, but this is one of my favorite trade routes in Star Citizen. So yeah, try not to tell anybody. I don't think anybody watches my YouTube channel anyway.
Just like in life, bigger is better. So we'll be doing this trade run in the glorious C2, which I just bought and then bought a paint job as well. How'd you do that, Chris Roberts? Our first stop is at the Schumann mining facility SMO-10, which is actually located on the planet of Microtech. Yeah, everybody that makes YouTube videos has already made a video on SMO-10, but wait, there's more. Well, you know, as long as you upgrade your ship to the very best military drive, or this run isn't going to be as profitable as others, because you need to get to these places quick. Oh yeah, nothing like a brisk jog through a snowstorm in order to go buy your stuff right after a cup of coffee. Alright, so this is the beginning of our run, and we're going to be starting out with 8.45 million, which isn't too bad. The master plan is to try to make 1 million in 2 of our trips. We're going to start out buying barrel here and fill up our C2 all the way. You can also get barrel in other places in Microtech. It's just key that you buy the barrel in Microtech, because that is going to be the cheapest place to get it. We're going to pay a little over 1.59 million. It is also key that you make sure that you visibly see the cargo load into the inventory before you hit the accept button. I'm not kidding. This is also key. Make sure that you see your cargo on your ship before you leave the area. True story, ended up rage quitting Star Citizen for about a week due to losing a load of barrel. Our next stop is the Crusader system. We're actually going to sell all of our barrel here at Orison. Why Orison? I thought that place sucked. It was a pain to get in and out of. Well, they've totally and completely revamped it. It doesn't take all that much time to get down there. It takes no time to leave at all. And they pay the most for the barrels, so that's where we're gonna go to make our first boatload of money. Here we are at Orison, and if you have trouble finding it at night, just ping and look for the
We've actually noticed that haulers are doing this as well.
Every single time I try to shoot a video, I do like a glove, like every single time. Why do I do that? I'm supposed to be a professional. Take a shuttle to the Providence platform, cross this bridge, the TDD is just on the other side. We paid just over 1.59 million for that barrel. Looks like we're going to be able to sell it for 1.94. That's ridiculous. For the first leg of this run, we ended up making 353,277 AUEC. Our new starting total is a little over 8.8 million. The trucker motto states, try not to fly with an empty hold, so we're going to remedy that. It is now time to fill up this entire C2 with scrap. Now, it's not going to make us a whole boatload of money, just a little under 40k, but we're flying that direction anyway. Once again, you want to make sure that you see the inventory visibly pop into your ship before you hit the accept button, or you'll end up rage quitting just like I did for a week. There are two places in the verse that paid the absolute most for scrap. The first place is going to be at Crew L5, although that's kind of out of the way from where I'm wanting to go, so we're going to head over to her L5 instead because it's closer to the two places I like to go. Now, after you sell your scrap, you can either head over to R Corp on Walla, hit up 056. That potentially can make you more, though it's a longer trip back to Microtech. For larger ships, my go-to is generally not the R Corp system because sometimes I can't fill up all the way with the good stuff. So let's plot over to High Core Station. I remember when I would sell stuff or even go to Orson for any reason, trying to leave the atmosphere, I'd literally just put it into cruise control and go out and do the dishes and make a bunch of food. It took for freaking ever. But now, in Star Citizen 319, that's totally and completely different, which is a big giant bag of win. Like I was saying before, after you sell your scrap, you kind of have two options. You can hit up the R Corp system. Walla is actually really good at 056. They sell astatine, laranite, as well as diamonds. A more consistent route, though, for gigantic ships like the C2 would be to head over to Ariel and either hit up Bezdek or you can hit up Lathan. Either one, you'll be getting a little bit of laranite as well as titanium here. 056 can be hit or miss. Sometimes you'll be making a bunch more money and sometimes you won't make as much because everyone and their space mom seems to want to do it when I do it. You can sell all your scrap at the admin office here in the Galleria. Now we're only going to be making about 38,280 AUEC on this trip, but since we're flying in this direction anyway, might as well make a little more profits. There we go. Transaction complete. And that's going to put us up to a little over 8.84 million, which is pretty good. Almost pulled the trigger on the R Corp system, but instead we're going to hit up the Hurston system, we're going to hit Ariel, and go buy all of our craps over at Lathan. This run is generally more consistent because you can buy titanium here for the cheapest, and Microtech pays the absolute most for it, and when you fill up a C2, that ends up being quite a bit of money. I'm just hoping I can score at least 50 SCU laranite here. Heck yeah, they got 68 SCU of laranite here, but unfortunately I'm not going to be able to buy all of it because it's going to fail on that very last one. At least CIG fixed the ability to buy these boxes for super mega cheap, and the only problem is you can never buy all of the laranite. Now well, it's no biggie, we'll just fill up the rest of the way with titanium, and the good news is I have never had a problem filling up my C2 the rest of the way with titanium here or at Bezdek. And every single time we buy our freaking cargo, we are going to wait to make sure I see that stuff load on there before I hit the accept key. I feel
like this could have been a 3-minute video. It's interesting that he's gone from... I find it interesting that he's doing this roundabout route. Because one of the things that we've noticed with targets that we've been going after is we'll spot them somewhere, we'll hit them, and then we don't see them anymore. Or targets that we don't hit, we'll spot them, we'll be like, all right, we'll wait until they come back, and then we don't see them for ages or at all. We know that they haven't spotted us, but I'm wondering if they're doing varied routes like this guy here, because I know Jack Axton likes to vary his routes. He'll do, from memory, he'll only do the same route twice, and on the third time he changes it. So this is one of those situations where it's he's old Hawks here is giving advice on different places that you can actually do, but he's doing essentially a triangle, which is something that you could do years ago, before CIG did their balancing of the economy. Within the Crusader system, when we only had Crusader, you used to be able to do multi-leg routes where you'd be going from PO to a mining outpost. It'd be PO to a farm, from a farm to a mining outpost, and then from a mining outpost back to PO. And if you wanted to, you could throw in a research outpost to pick up stims, medical supplies, or whatever. And that's a good point that you bring up there, Adrian, is like, old mates, you know, there's videos to generate clicks, for sure. Like, the title tells me that straight away. It benefits us as pirates, though, because people start listening to this guy, because the information in game just doesn't exist. And, you know, like, a lot of backers are relying on content creators to inform them of what they should and shouldn't do. Being able to make, you know, a lot of credits is pretty easy to do in this game. Like, you know, through trade, through mining. Piracy's only just gotten profitable this patch, but even then, the profit margins, unless you're hitting the right target, you're not going to be making much. Like, we hit a C2 that had laranite and titanium on it, and we left the titanium because the profit margin for the amount of time and effort that we would have to spend moving that titanium wasn't worth it. Like, just for this guy, it pays out enough. Like, how much did it cost? So 376 per unit. Titanium at the scrapyards sells for like 400 and something. 400 and something units per box, whereas the laranite is, what was it? 2.49. So, what is it? It's over that's 2,000, nearly 2,500 credits to buy the box, and you could sell it for like 2,700 normally, 2,900 if you're doing well. But for us selling it as pirates, we're getting closer to the cost price there. Like, selling, the amount of time that it takes to grab those boxes, transfer them onto your own ship, and then sell them off, that's the problem that we're currently encountering, which is why we actually need to be more picky with our targets as pirates. You can't just go after anything anymore. Like, what was it? We hit, actually a few weeks ago, it was one of the last hits of 318. So it would have been the start of, just the end of April. We hit a Connie Taurus that was full of distilled spirits, and when we looked at how much we were going to make from it, we were just, was it distilled spirits? No, I think it was something else. I'll need to watch the video again. But when we looked at how much we were going to make, it was nothing. Like, we were just looking at it like, it's only going to be like 2,000 credits per person that's part of the team, and there was only 6 of us. It wasn't much. It wasn't worth the time and effort. And like, we were sitting there looking at it, it's like, this is going to take us an hour to move. Still, spirits get a good margin? Yeah, if you're buying and selling. Because the loading and unloading is automated. But if you've got to move all those boxes, that's where the profit margin actually dies in the arse. And that's the problem, is like, pirates need to be picky about their targets now, which is why hitting barrel haulers is actually a big thing. Hitting gold haulers would actually be a really good thing too, but not many people trade in gold. So, like, it's interesting that he's thrown in this aerial route, because what we're seeing here is that, you know, like, this guy is suggesting doing this multi-leg route. It engages people more. You know, like, if they're more of a space trucker than somebody just chasing credits, this will engage them more. But if people are chasing credits and they follow what old mate's doing, instead of it being a straight back and forth, which, you know, people, you know, doing a straight back and forth may be able to make more credits from. We as pirates, we're observing. So what we see is somebody, doing back and forth a couple of times, and then we'll interdict them. Whereas if they're doing a round trip like that, unless we've got somebody else watching the other other points in the trip, we're not going to pick up on it. So yeah, this is something that we have to be aware of as pirates in this game. We have to do our research. So seeing this being suggested is quite interesting. I'm quite happy with it. Like, I'm glad somebody's saying, hey, do more than one trip. Do this type of cargo hauling, as opposed to the straight, one point to the other, back and forth.
And every single time we buy our freaking cargo, we are going to wait to make sure I see that stuff load on there before I hit the accept key. I just can't.
100% Bozy.
Keeping my
Fucking
fingers crossed.
Spectrum will be on fire.
Cha-ching. Our next stop is the microtech system. We're going to head over there and sell all of our loots over at New Babbage. When you drop in, you'll want to locate the airport, which is actually just to the bottom right over there. You'll follow the tram lines. The left one will take you to a series of 4 little domes. Once you get there, you want to locate the dome that has like the little garage being built off of it, and then just land your ship right there or near this area. If you see any other ships around or people walking around, it would be time to be paranoid. So yeah, if you're going to sell in microtech, it's just smarter to land over by the domes. That way you can avoid riding 2 trains, because ain't nobody got time for that. Enter the dome and then run to the end of this hallway. Hit up the elevator and have it take you to the commons. Just take a right and run through the area where everyone's exercising. Run through the commons and then run all the way through factory line. This is where you're going to run into the TDD. Yeah, this is definitely way faster than riding the train. Let's first pawn off our Laranite. Now, we ended up with 67 SCU. Anything over 50 is actually really good. Let's now pawn off the mother load of titanium that we have here for maximum profits. This completes trip number 1. Now, if you remember, we had a little bit over 8.45 million when we first started. I'm basically space greedy, so I'm going to complete another trip in this video. But right now, we are sitting a little bit over 8.96 million. That is a total profit of 510,000 on our first trip. Back at it, I'm over at SMO 10 here on Microtech, loading up on barrel once again. Time to head back to Orson for that sweet, sweet payday and a shuttle ride. Maximum profits. Already up to a little bit over 9.28 million space bucks. You guessed it, gonna snag up another load of scrap and then head over to Hurl 5. Quickly selling out the admin for just a little under 40k profits. That puts us up to a little over 9.32 million. Boo, I should have went over to Bezdek instead of Lathan. I can only get like 33 SCU of Laranite here. Oh well, I guess it's awesome that they have a mountainous supply of titanium. Good. Let the loot spawn on your ship. Back over to Microtech. I don't know, maybe I'm in the presence of a celebrity, but I think that's Ricardo Gaming down there. He does a lot of Elite Dangerous content as well as some Star Citizen. Anyways, whether it's him or not, he is still on his ship, so in order to save him a little bit of paranoia as well as myself, I'm just gonna kind of land over here in between these 2 domes. Sup, Space Bro? Time to pawn off this Laranite as well as all this titanium. At the beginning of this run, we had a little over 8.45 million. We ended up with a little bit over 9.44 million. That is a total profit of 990,074 AUEC. If you found this video helpful, why don't you check out the
Made 600k in all that time. In a C2, you should be able to make that amount every 30 minutes. What is it? Old mate did roughly. So he said 990k. So it was like 445,000. Like, I'm curious how much the was it the barrel route between Itter and Hurston would make you? Because in my mind, if the profit margin's good enough, you would be able to make enough to compete against that. But I'd need to look up the stats. But, you know, that video there has 13,000 views over the last 3 days, which isn't, you know, which is something worth noting and being aware of. Whether or not, you know, like, it's going to make him the best amount of credits doesn't really bother me, as long as players are following his instructions. Because that just means that we got targets. Calm down. Wait your turn. $300k per run, 3 runs per hour, so not much different. Yeah. I just thought that video was interesting that they introduced multi-leg stops. The other thing about it is though is that by increasing the amount of time between people buying and selling between the different points, you give the inventory at those locations sufficient time to restock. What I'm surprised though is like they're not trying to push the barrel route that's just on Microtech, where it's just still on the same moon, a correction planet. Because it's from Armistice Zone to Armistice Zone. You're literally relying on a spline interdiction to pirate anybody. Or you can try and curb stomp them because the atmospheric quantum travel ceiling is 10 kilometers, which gives you more than enough space to take a dampener down. What route that's confined to a single planetary system? Adrian, what is it? Actually, probably the most important question is though, is like, if that short route got out in public, would it still be as profitable? Because that's one of the things that sometimes people don't realize with their routes, is that it makes them a lot of credits in a short amount of time. But it's because like they're a part of a few or a smaller group of people who are actually doing those routes, and that if they became more popular, they wouldn't make as much. Reader's a lot more interesting since they removed the commodities from the readable game files. I don't know about that. Like, I feel part of the problem with the current state of trade is that unless the person who's engaging in the trade is a hardcore, you know, commodity trader, most players are just following the advice of others. So for us as pirates, like if we want targets that are worth hitting, we need to follow the trends. And that means that we have to wait for these types of content creators to put their, you know, like their content out to talk about, you know, how they do trade, the routes that they do, and all that sort of stuff, so that we, when we're watching that those same routes, we have targets to hit. You know, we've already started seeing more people go into Orison from New Babbage, or correction, from Microtech. So it's one of those situations where it's like our snare should be setting up to interdict people going to Orison. John Don, yes, we have. Sometimes we'll do that. A lot of the time haulers don't want to do that though. They just want to stay isolated in their own little bubble. Inside man job, Adrian, is one of those things where it's like, it's one of those situations where I would say that it's not anywhere near as bad as stream sniping, because there's a point of contact that you know is there. Yeah, my problem with that though, Telva, is that those multiple commodity rushes, unless you're in the know and you're a content creator, nobody's going to find out about them. Like, and when I say the content creator part, it's not because that content creators get extra information, it's because content creators will put it out as content, therefore more people start engaging in the commodity rush. Whereas those who are in the know and aren't content creators will just keep it to themselves and their orgs, which means, you know, like, unless we're constantly going out, you know, and it's an information source for us as pirates too. This is one of those things where, like, you know, in the golden age of piracy, they used spies to find out about ships that were worth pirating. Content creators are kind of like that for us, where they feed information to the masses and we collect that information. Whereas if the information isn't getting out and it's just kept internally within an organization, they're making hand over fist credits, and unless we're infiltrating them, we have no idea either. The barrel route on microtech didn't work for you? Basically just out all the time? There may be an issue with your connection to the servers then, mate, because the outposts on microtech that have barrel have 30,000 SCU, and they refresh every 10 minutes to near maximum. Telva, you need to find people who want to spy, and you need to find people who are willing to be informants. Like, I am a huge proponent for emergent gameplay, you know this. The problem is though, is like getting people to do that is the hardest part, especially the spying part, especially if we want to orchestrate a hit against a target that we know is doing an event. And we're using a spy to hit in on that event. It is so painful because most orgs don't have their shit together. So when they run an event, it takes them, you know, like close to an hour to get their shit together. And that's an org moving fast too, by the way. Like, I want it to be more of a thing, and to be honest, I think when we get server meshing, it's why I keep talking about server meshing being the big proponent for, you know, improving emergent gameplay. Once we get that, we'll be in, you know, the target-rich environment. The game will be a lot more further fleshed out. Once the servers are stable, players will start populating it more, and opportunities will start growing for, you know, using spies and informants. you know, like there's going to be players in the blob orgs who, you know, aren't going to be happy with the leadership and or will be more than willing to make a bit of extra credits on the side and don't feel that connection with their org. So the tick cycle for refreshing outposts actually happens every 10 minutes. So what happens is that there's a it ends up equaling not across how much it actually how much it's supposed to refresh every minute. But with the way that the information is presented on SC Trade Tools is that it shows you the refresh rate per minute, but the refresh tick doesn't actually happen for 10 minutes. So across that 10-minute period, it would be building up, and then once 10 minute hits, it drops it increases the inventory load by however much was supposed to be there. And it's all trade outposts. Yeah, so sometimes you'll get haulers. We've seen this before. Sometimes you get haulers that do tick trading, and it actually was a thing previous to 3.19 where they would tick trade Laranite. So they'd sit at an outpost and buy all the Laranite for a tick, and then they would wait for the next one and then buy the amount of Laranite that filled the inventory, and they'd just do that until their ship was full of Laranite, and then they'll go sell. We've actually, one target, we actually sat there for like close to an hour waiting for them to fill their ship full of Laranite. They might infiltrate us. That's just part of the game. Can't be constantly trying to protect against spies. Anyway, let's get moving on to the next bit of content. So we've got one more video to react to before my day starts. It's this one here is by one of our members, good old Baron of Mork. And Baron is on a bit of a hiatus at the moment as he's moving. He's moving back home to France. So he's away from his PC at this current point in time. Yeah, Anta. That's the hit that I was talking about. That's the one where we waited for 50 minutes. It was Genocide. Genocide was talking about it. And he'd done a PowerPoint slide on a PowerPoint presentation on why a hot dog is a sandwich. But yeah, we're going to react to Baron's video, and this is actually the next hit that I'm working on. So this is from his perspective. And I don't think, like, I've got his point of view video as well for this particular hit, and I don't think he gets all of it. This hit was a fucking pain. So we're going to start watching. We're going to start watching this one, and may end up skipping over parts of it because it is going to be, he talks like he's French, so his audience is targeted at French people. So let's watch Plundering Booty Along the Mountainside with Baron of Mork and Mongrel Squad. 99, he's almost at 100.
Salut à tous, ici le Baron of Mourk. J'ai cette semaine la...
Closed captions is working. Alright, I'm just gonna make all the stats in that disappear. That's YouTube chat. Oh my god. Sorry, bad. I need to pull this up. Let's open the original. Should open here. I'm just gonna show this on stream quickly. This here. Hot dogs aren't sandwiches, they are tacos. I don't make the rules. That's interesting because from Jen's arguments, it had nothing to do with the shape. And it had to do with the construction and the way that it was filled. So, Telva, you need to send this to Genocide so that he can send you the PowerPoint. So that he can prove to you why a hot dog is a sandwich and not a taco. Because that's the argument, is that a hot dog isn't a taco, it's a sandwich. The salad is also missing a sad face in the middle of the cube. Alright, let's get back to the video. I'm going to watch the whole point. Actually, I'm going to hide my face so you guys can see Barons. I'm going to be talking about this hit as it's happening though.
La dernière vidéo de la saison. Ceux qui ont rejoint mon stream le week-end dernier sauront de quoi je parle. Simplement, je déménage de Thaïlande et reviens en France à la fin du mois. C'est la raison pour laquelle cet épisode de piraterie avec The Mongrel Squad ne sort pas un vendredi, car demain, j'emmènerai mon PC pour qu'il soit démonté, tandis que jeudi prochain, les déménageurs emporteront mes affaires pour un voyage en bateau d'au moins 2 mois et demi. Quant à moi, je prends l'avion, encore heureux, et je serai donc de retour dans l'Hexagone le 20 juin. Tout cela pour dire donc qu'il n'y aura pas un seul stream ou vidéo de tout l'été. Vous allez pouvoir bronzer un peu, bande de vampires, mais ne vous inquiétez pas, ça n'est qu'un au revoir. Je reprendrai la création de contenu, j'estime, courant septembre, et si vous voulez garder le contact, je ne peux que vous encourager une fois de plus à rejoindre mon Discord. Maintenant, pour parler de l'attaque d'aujourd'hui, nous sommes pour une fois en chasse autour de Microtech. Nous avons avec nous un grand nombre de vaisseaux QED, car comme je le répète à longueur de temps, le timing est une part fondamentale de la piraterie. Et si vous n'êtes pas certain de pouvoir ramener un mantis à temps, le mieux c'est d'en avoir 2. Voire même 3, comme c'est notre cas ce jour-là, et cela tout simplement pour être capable de couvrir plus de terrain. Et pourquoi cela, nous ne sommes pas certains de couvrir le terrain avec un seul mantis comme à notre habitude? Eh bien, c'est parce que nous sommes ce jour-là le 26 mai et Jack Axton vient juste de sortir sa vidéo sur l'état du trade qui a bien aidé toute la communauté, pirates inclus. Merci Jack. À mieux comprendre quelles sont les nouvelles meilleures marchandises pour en faire le commerce.
Yes,
Et c'est pour
Jack's
cela
video
que nous
helped us
attendons
out a
avoir
lot.
pas mal de traders à différents endroits du système. Tandis que je suis en embuscade au-dessus du scrapyard de Euterpe, où nous venons de découvrir un freelancer abandonné avec plusieurs caisses de drogue à l'intérieur que nous récupérons en passant, il ne faudrait pas gâcher, un Karak est repéré à l'avant-poste Shubin Mining Facility SMO 22. Puis quelques minutes plus tard, c'est au tour d'un C2 d'être repéré à l'avant-poste SMO 10. Ces gars sont là pour remplir leur vaisseau ras la gueule de Beryl, la nouvelle coqueluche des traders de cargo, et toute l'équipe se reconsolide afin de préparer les snares et tenter l'interception de 2 vaisseaux à la fois. Et vous allez donc voir qu'il y a dans ces cas-là des communications dans tous les sens, pas toujours facile à suivre. Quoi qu'il en soit, nous sommes en pleine Invictus Week et je suis moi-même dans mon nouveau mantis flambant neuf. Avec tous les wipes, ça faisait longtemps que je n'avais pas repiloté ce vaisseau. Je vais d'ailleurs faire une erreur de débutant dont je ne me rendrai compte à
This
aucun
looks like
moment
the start
pendant
of the
l'attaque
hit that he's
malgré
got in
tous
the
les signaux
background.
que m'envoie le jeu. Heureusement que le reste de l'équipe ne sont pas des amateurs. Et du coup, pour ce 99e épisode, testez vos compétences de pirate en me disant dans les commentaires si vous êtes capable de repérer le moment où j'ai vraiment chié dans la colle.
Yeah, turn closed captions off of this.
So we've got a hook at Smo 10. The carrick just went white.
Carrick just went white. Owner name is Icaro _SP 2002. Went blue again. Not getting a good scan. Can't tell if there's cargo.
Loki, can you set up the snare? I could come and replace you and scan the guy.
I'm gonna go ahead and get ready to set up.
Yeah, okay.
Looking for new bandage.
Does anybody? Can somebody head to where Kath is, so that he can go set his snare up?
Ochi, you can go
Yeah,
there.
Ochi's trying, but I can't fucking jump for some reason.
Smo 10 snare set.
There we go. Just jump. All right, I'm about to be on my way.
Comlink is down.
Yeah.
Comlink is down around the microtech, guys.
That's nice.
Yep, pretty cool.
This is one of the best things about doing piracy around Microtech. Actually, I should turn my looking at the camera like it's on. This is one of the best things about doing piracy around fucking Microtech now, is because of Ghost Hollow. Yeah, because of Ghost Hollow, the comm array goes down regularly. So if we hit a target in Microtech, 9 times out of 10, the comm array is down and we're not getting crime stats. It's the best.
There's a ghost hollow. How good is that?
Lucky, Baron is here to replace you.
They're still on the Carrick's still on the deck. I've got eyes on it.
All right, it's back in pilot seat. Actually, no, we got Aquila here with somebody in pilot seat.
3 targets. Nice.
It's just how it goes. Nothing all night and then fucking.
The other thing as well is that this hit is actually being done with the auxiliaries. So we're, I believe this was a Friday night a few weeks ago now, but we do piracy ops with the auxiliaries, or piracy ops with the Mongrel Corps regularly, and this hit was actually a mixture of Mongrel Squad and auxiliaries.
All over the place.
And I got the Carrack as well.
Loki's jumping now.
Carrack still white. Okay, pilot is in the Carrack. Carrack is taking off.
Did we get a cargo scan on it?
I'm in a Mantis, I don't want to come close. This guy gonna freak out. Oh.
Do I have to come to?
It's looking like he's looking to space. Where the fuck is he?
What's the guy doing?
Okay, Loki's not getting, isn't able to get this line for some reason.
Nelson, do you see that C2 there?
I just dropped out of quantum from Hurst and there's a C2 next to me.
Yeah. I'm trying to get a scan on it, but your signature, for whatever reason, is overpowering it.
Agents, the C2 is empty.
Just leave it.
You cannot set up, Loki? Okay, I can try.
No, it keeps pushing through the through atmosphere.
The C2 on SMO 10 is taking off.
Charak is looking at New Babbage now. Oh,
But he's looking straight up. He should be looking down, right?
all right, we lost Karak. He just jumped to New Babbage.
Alright, C2 just jumped.
So, I don't know if you guys saw it there on the video. Baron was trying to turn on his snare, and the reason why he wouldn't have been able to do it is that he was too close to the outpost, which he would have picked up on. But I believe that's not what he was talking about when he pointed out or said you guys should try and point out his fuck up in the chat or the comments.
Looked like he jumped towards looks like he jumped towards Crusader.
Of course he did.
For Loki and Baron.
I remember this this day. We found a whole bunch of targets and we're like, all right, they're all going to be jumping to New Babbage, so we'll set up spline snares. And we'd set the snares up, or tried to. Obviously, they missed this one. But we'd set the snares up, we'd watch the target take off, and they'd just jump in the opposite direction. And we would never see them. We'd go and check New Babbage, no target there at all. And by this time, I had pretty much been fed up with targets like not going to New Babbage. I'm like, all right, they're clearly not jumping there. They must be going to Orison or somewhere else. Because at the time, we were still under the impression that Orison was broken, where ships were exploding, leaving hangars, which apparently had been fixed a day or so beforehand, and we didn't know. But with regards to this hit here, I pretty much I'm leading this hit, so I make the decision. All right, we're going to curb stomp this one. Well, actually, no, we're going to attack them, push them into space, and then attempt to brick them up there. And you guys will see what happens in a minute.
We'll get you guys just keeping an eye on the outposts here.
Yeah.
Mystic. Is it Mystic?
Yes. I was on
I want you to
Crusader.
stay around. Yeah, I want you to stay around Crusader because you'll be there to
C2, the C2 I saw earlier is at SMO 10 landing.
What?
I keep my Cutlass Blue.
There's another one landing at SMO 10?
Just landed.
Okay, coming to set up a snare.
I'm already there if you want.
Are you already there? Okay, so set it up.
He came from Hurston, so someone should set up a snare to Hurston, maybe.
Loki, can you, you're in the Mantis as well, right?
Yeah, I can do it. I'm having problems here anyways. I can't find SMO 22 anymore, it's not showing up.
Guys, we're gonna do this old school, we're gonna use dampeners. Get sick of these fucking targets jumping away and they're all going to random locations.
So we're not gonna bother with snare at all?
No.
What we can have, basically, Cass, is many of us with dampener and one with a snare ready. So if the guy is getting away enough from the outpost, then just pop up snare.
Yeah, we've done that in the past.
Yeah.
Targets out of ship.
Okay.
Mystic, keep making your way up to Microtech now. We'll change the plan. Lead you up here. What I want to happen is we want to try and push him into space. So we'll harass him until he gets into space, and then from there we'll brick him.
Don't crash into each other, guys.
That never happens.
So there's already a few of the auxiliaries at the site here, and it was in this particular hit, because we had seen so many targets that had shown up, bought barrel, and then fucked off, and we weren't able to find them again. I made the decision, we're going to hit this guy, we're going to do it in the atmosphere of the planet and try and push him up into space, but pretty much pull everyone in. And this is a risky thing to do, because if you pull everybody in on the same target, like I think we're rolling like 10 deep at this point. The more people that you have on site, the more people, want to get a piece of the action. Like everybody, especially after you've seen so many targets jump away, more people want a piece of the action. So when you're making decisions, when you're leading a piracy crew and you're making decisions on, how you maneuver your people around, you always have to be cognizant that everybody's going to want to put their finger in the fucking pie. So when you pull everybody in, it's really important to actually delegate who does what during the attack. And especially if you're using soft death as a method of disabling your targets. If you're using soft death as a method of disabling your targets, you want to control who does and who doesn't fire on the target once the shields go down. And as you're watching the target ship turning red, you start dialing back the amount of people who are doing damage to it. So it's actually quite important to maintain proper control of the target here.
Alright. Baron's in position 32 kilometers above the outpost with a snare charging. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah, it's actually really important as well where Baron is in relation to the target.
Pull with power. Push up.
Excellent. Right, get ready.
Nelson's backing off again.
But don't forget the quantum travel ceiling is 10 kilometers here, or closer to 11.
Yeah.
So dampener range, like we're not going to end up in the green zone. You don't need to go flying down there at warp factor 9, but we are dealing with a thicker atmosphere as well. So that SU-2 is going to be able to punch through it faster. So blues, if you need to, switch to your VTOLs to maintain acceleration dominance over them.
The pilot is in the seat.
Yep, taking off. It's going straight up. Straight for me.
Nelson dampener active.
Okay, he's in the bubble.
Nice.
Right, we want to keep the pressure on him, try and pull him up. If he starts trying to focus fire on someone, whoever that is...
Thank you very much for the super chat there, Black Sail.
Atmosphere into space. We have 100 kilometers to go.
All front shield went down.
That's fine.
And full back shields.
That's exactly...
rear shield.
Yeah, that's fine. That's what we want, because now he's going to fly pretty much in a straight line. He'll try and go for space.
Alright, Baron got target in snare.
So if you have a look, can't zoom in on the screen to show the part. So what the target's done is they've put their shields fully to the rear, so their flanks and front are exposed or have weaker shield faces on them. And this works really well in our favor here, because normally we have to burn through the shields to be able to start hitting the hull to brick the target, whereas we could just, because it's thick atmosphere, we've got faster ships and our ships have turrets, we can just pull up along the flanks of the ship and then just use the turret gunners to just shoot at the ships while staying relatively close to it. We don't really do that in this hit, but it is something to consider when you are actually attacking a target that does this, is push up to the flanks and to the front of the target. If you're in atmosphere and this is where your turret gunners really become really important. Push up, hit the flanks of the targets with the turrets, and then what they should end up doing is rebalancing their shields, in which case you can just go back to pummeling the rear shield again. So it's one of those things where it's like a lot of people who pirates that are new to this and they see this happen, they just stay behind the target and try and burn through those shields there. You don't need to do that. If you got turrets, if you got ships with turrets on them and their turrets are manned, just pull up to the side and use your turret gunners. Like, they've got the best angle of attack. They've also got larger capacitors as well. Something to keep in mind.
I got it at 15k.
Now, if you notice as well, Baron doesn't get too close to the target here.
10 kilometers.
Is he shooting back?
No.
No, but his shields are going down a lot faster than what they should be. Just watch the damage that you put on him, guys. Yeah. Hold fire on lethals. We've still got another. What's that, like 30 something kilometers to go? What the fuck?
He's gonna go back. He's gonna head back.
Thanks.
Has he got anybody?
Close out the pilot is off seat.
No name. Okay, missile locked, so he can't bed log.
Baron's missile locking.
You would have heard that was Loki who said that. You know, missile locking so he can't bed log. Even though we've been attacking this guy, sometimes the game does bug out, and there's a period of time, especially when we're dialing back on the damage, where the combat logout timer may actually tick over, and there's sufficient time for them to quickly jump in the bed and log out. When you missile lock onto somebody, it resets that timer and counts as an aggressive action, causing you to not be able to log out. You do that, you can then drop the missile lock straight away and then wait, you know, another 10 or so seconds and then do it again. And this is actually a method that you can use to be able to aggro the combat logout timer so that you prevent them from being able to combat log whilst also not damaging the target, which is something really important to, you know, keep in mind. Another point that you'll notice is, like, everyone's roughly 10 to 11 kilometers away from where Baron is. The target is actually Phantom 95 here, if you're looking at the cursor. And they're 10.8. Baron's supposed to be using the snare here, so the snare's range is 20 kilometers. He doesn't need to get close, and this is something that a lot of Mantis pilots like to do. It's like you got a 20 kilometer snare, 20 kilometer radius snare, and then, you know, you'll see them trying to fly within a kilometer or so of the target. It's like, unless you've got, you know, only 3 ships and one of them is the Mantis, that Mantis doesn't need to be that close. And this is one of those things that, you know, like, you actually want to keep in mind when you're doing piracy, especially in smaller groups, is that your Mantis is one of your most important assets there. Your QED is your most important asset. So if you got a Mantis there and they've got a snare, they don't need to be right up on the target. Keep them far away enough that if for whatever reason that target goes, all right, I'm going to try and engage the thing that's stopping me from jumping, they have to travel far enough that you in the Mantis can spot them and just maneuver out of the way. Is his snare on? That's a good question there, Methanol. Do you think his snare is on? Because I know for a fact. I know the answer to this question. And, you know, like, I'll link the video again in the chat later, but it's really important that you guys jump in that chat of Baron's there and let him know if his snare was or was not on.
Being attacked.
No, he's back in seat. Back in seat.
Come back down.
Right, hold off on lethals. I don't want to see any more lethal fire on the target.
Alright, he's dropped noise.
I'm seriously being fucking called up by security right now.
Wilson has security on me.
Bring back down.
Should we hit him before he gets back to the outpost?
I think
we want him to get closer to the ground first. Don't
no
work him yet.
There's no outpost where he's looking. The outpost pretty far.
Yeah, alright.
Check, looking for it. FYI, outpost is 120 kilometers away from here.
Oh fuck, I'm being shot at.
Security NPCs.
Which is funny, because out of all the people there,
back up. Keep peppering those shields.
I think that was Flo that was getting shot at. You've missed it all, sorry.
We're very close from the... pretty close from the ground, I would say. What, 4,000?
Someone take care of the security, please.
We're 4K up at the minute.
One is applying ballistics on no target.
Alright, security is dead.
Pretty down.
You just finished ops. Double check. Ah, man, I forgot to check the right calendar. Yeah, we started the stream when you guys started ops. Thought I'd double check that. My bad. I would have started the stream a bit later if I'd known that you guys were doing ops. Alright, so Adrian, you did. There was a transition, so there was a C2, a Carrack, and there was a Constellation Killer broken up between two outposts, SMO 10 and SMO 22. The Carrack had taken off and gone towards New Babbage. We didn't manage to snare that because the Mantises couldn't get their snares active in time. They couldn't make the jump. Loki attempted to make the jump, but couldn't pull out in time and made the entire trip. Baron was trying to charge his snare, but he was too close to the outpost, and when he tried, by the time he realized what was going on, the Carrack had already jumped. This target here, this Phantom 95, which you see in the middle of the screen, when Baron was going towards Loki, you would have heard myself and Nelson talking about a C2 that we had encountered just as we had arrived at Microtech. Both of us were in Cutlass Blues. This is that C2 that we spotted. We spotted it when it arrived. It was empty, so we ignored it. But we figured that if it was coming to Microtech, it was probably going to be going to one of these outposts. So we stuck around in the area. So yeah, what's currently happening now is this target is the one that has filled up with barrel. We were trying to push it up into space, and now the target's come back down to ground. Right. And they're trying to spin. Actually, not. I'm just gonna.
It's rolling.
Another thing as well, and another indicator to tell you whether or not your snare is deployed, is if you look at your weapons groups, you'll see the weapon group there. If it's showing 100 of 100, it means that your snare is charged and ready to deploy. When you deploy it, it goes down to 0.
Everybody else.
That means the amp.
Hold fire, hold fire.
Target is really red.
Yeah.
There's lethals going in.
Yeah, that's me. I'm going for the soft death.
I think I'll be able to soft death.
Soft death.
Oh, this is beautiful.
Oh yeah. Oh, he survived.
It's gone down for boarding.
You couldn't have picked a better landing spot.
Who else do you want for boarding? Loki has kit.
Yeah, before everybody goes flying in there to get in there first, let's have a quick look at the situation, because if you paying attention, we're on the side of a fucking hill. We're gonna have to run up that.
Agens, do you want the snare?
Bit of salt and chat there, adding a bit of flavor to the hit. Alright, get a life, assholes. There you go. They didn't say anything to us. Didn't attempt to reach out. Didn't say anything in chat. Didn't attempt to reach out to us. Nothing.
Snare still up.
No, take the snare down.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, Flo is going for FPS as well. I'm fully equipped.
Blues are going to stay in their ships. We're better equipped for combat. I want all Mantises to land and conduct the boarding.
Alright.
Okay.
Pilot is still in the seat.
Oh, let me know when you're moving.
Target is sank at life assholes.
Careful, guys.
Pilot's still in seat, he's not moved.
Loki's touching down.
Baron's touching down.
So yeah, this goes back to my point that I was making. You guys would have heard me say it, but the more people you get involved in a piracy, the more people that want to put their finger in the pie. And it's important that you put your assets in the correct place and use them, you know, to their maximum capability. The Cutlass Blue is a really strong fighter in atmosphere. It's a really capable piracy ship. It's actually, if you want to use a ship for piracy, get a Cutlass Blue. Right? It's got a lot of firepower with its, you know, pilot-controlled weapons, a lot of firepower with its missiles. It has QED, so you can prevent the target from being able to jump away using the dampener. It can carry a bit of cargo. It can have a turret gunner. It can carry troops in the back as well. It does everything that you need out of a piracy ship. And you could go after ships like this with you and 2 other people on your Cutlass Blue and have the capability required to take this a ship like a C2 down to be able to pirate it. It'll take a while, but you can still do it. Yeah, there's 2 kilometer QED is perfectly fine. It just requires you to stay close to the target, which is not difficult to do, especially if they go back into atmosphere. Like when they go back into atmosphere like this, the Cutlass Blue has more than enough capability to stick to a target like that. Even though that C2 has the higher acceleration capability, the Cutlass Blue, if the pilot knows what they're doing, it can just switch to VTOL mode and just stay with them. Like, the key to using a Cutlass Blue well, though, is having a skilled pilot. Now, the thing that I was talking about, though, is like making sure that you use your assets correctly. So because of how capable those Cutlass Blues are, having, and we had like 3 in the area, keeping those people on board the Cutlass Blues is actually more beneficial than keeping the Mantis pilots in their Mantises. Because unfortunately, the thing that the Mantis is really good at has pretty much passed. Once the target has been bricked, once the target's disabled, if you're soft deathing the target, you don't need QED anymore. Like, it's not going to jump anywhere. Well, it depends on the height of the quantum travel ceiling. You know, on moons it's a lot lower, so you do need to be a lot better prepared for it. Whereas on microtech, it's a bit more lenient. But in this case, like, we've got 3 Mantis pilots there, and once the target's bricked, you don't need to worry about QED anymore. So the ships that are the most powerful, being the Cutlass Blues and most capable in atmosphere, should remain in their seats and should be utilized as standoff. The ships that aren't that great at flight combat, being the Mantises, are really in the best position to be utilized as the ships that are doing the boarding action. And that's essentially what I do here, is that I know that, you know, there were guys there that wanted to land and do the boarding action, do all the sexy cool stuff, but it's like, we're working as a team, right? The team comes first. You know, doing all the sexy cool stuff only is sexy and cool if you've got proper support there. And I don't know about you guys, but I don't want, you know, if I can avoid it, I won't use a Mantis to fly top cover for me to fight off potential people who are going to try and save this pilot. I would rather use Cutlass Blues to be able to do that, and then just have the Mantis pilots conduct the boarding action. It sucks, but you can do it. Some people will try and run. You just gotta wait.
You don't need to be that close to the target. We need to be keeping an eye out as standoff.
Baron is hunting.
Dismounting.
Since we're not in EVS, this guy may be thinking about getting out of his ship. Be careful, guys.
Only with a Mantis.
Yeah. I'm gonna wait for you and check the front of the...
Have a look, the target's actually giving information out. So pirates camping at Microtech with the goddamn mantis. They don't realise that there's 3 mantis there and 3 cutlass blues.
Aaron, I'm on your left.
Okay.
Clicks.
Cat is on the front as well. Maybe you want to cover...
Cutlass blue is over 1300 meters a second now.
Yeah, I've got the back with a sniper.
Okay, good. I'm running for this front, going with gas.
Ochi outside Overwatch.
Can I get to a better position so I can see all of the rear? No eyes.
Right, Cat, I'm with you.
Cool.
No eyes either. Are you guys ready? We're right in front of the front ramp. So it's too steep. We cannot.
Get sail on board.
I don't think we can.
Loki has a good angle from the rear.
Okay. Yeah, front ramp's just too steep. We cannot get up.
Loki will hold up the rear ramp.
All right, Cass. Yeah, Cass, just go there with them. I'll cover the front.
For information, I have someone approaching the aft ramp. I have no marker on the guy.
Loki, you're
okay.
Good.
No, I got him. Yeah, I think I got him.
Yes.
Yellow armor and no marker.
Rear ramp is going
Eagle
up.
eyes.
Front ramp is going up as well. Yeah, he just closed his ramp. We can go by the elevator as well,
When I
guys.
scanned the ship, there was only one. There was only one name that I saw on that ship.
No, actually
Stay on
we...
your toes anyway.
Actually, we cannot. Gravity is too hard.
We're getting a cargo ship.
The problem is...
You guys come along this way. Shit.
We're just sliding the terrain is so steep that we're just sliding along. The gravity is too high, so we cannot jump, you know, very far.
I got an idea.
Yeah.
Move away from the C2.
Okay.
Moving.
Oh,
bloody bastard.
An arrow bridge would work just as well, sorry.
Is there something when you need it?
I have an LMG. If you want me to shoot open the doors.
Yeah, Loki does as well.
Alright, there you go.
It was ready.
Nice.
Oh.
Did it move?
No.
It shifted, right? I saw
You're
it shift.
You're
a little, I don't know if it helped.
Comlink is not...
No, what you can do now. What you can do now is just use one of the cutlass pieces to create a ramp.
Yeah.
I'll bring an M2.
Are you gonna bomb it out of the valley?
Alright,
Just
ramp is opening.
throw the,
How is it?
Okay, it's opening. Loki's got it.
Yeah, I got it.
Hey, there's my buddy!
I got your corpse agents. Can I grab it?
Fun fact, that canopy there actually helps us out later on. I don't think you'll see it in this video.
No eyes.
But the one that I'm working on,
guys,
I'll make sure
wait,
it features.
Wait a second. We need to get this guy body out of there ASAP.
Okay, Flo is coming in the rear ramp to get the body.
Yeah, okay. Flo, you're gonna get the body. Do we have anybody else in the sky right now?
Coach is in the air.
Okay,
Yeah,
so Ochi, you overwatch.
You hold on me and I'll grab it.
We're gonna have fun to get the boxes out of there.
Having a hard time keeping hold of
I was
him.
just thinking that.
Body's in the back.
there's the target's body.
Okay, going out.
Okay, good. Agents, how do you reckon we get the boxes out? Should we just throw them downhill and then have a ship come and recover?
One cop.
Yeah, that's gonna be the best way to handle this.
Alright, I'm gonna look left, you look right.
I'm bringing an M2.
Okay. Guys, gonna open the front ramp. You ready for this? Maybe the ship's just gonna explode.
Oh yeah, very ready.
Okay, opening now. Let's see what's happening.
Oh.
Yeah, you get that as well, did you?
Oh god. My heart.
Alright.
Hey.
Gonna
the
start.
elevator was outside for a while. I thought we were exploded.
Gonna start to move boxes down the hill.
On the hill, roger that.
Yeah. They're just gonna flow down, but yeah,
Soriel, unless you'd done this hit, you would understand when I say you want the SRV for this one. Like, it took us 3 hours after we hit the target to get everything out of the ship. And it was just pain. That's all it was. It was just pain. 3 hours of pain. Like, with how much left Baron has, I don't think he shows it all. But there's a lot more that happens.
wow, they're just
so much more.
Down pretty far. No, that's fine actually, not that far. Okay.
Okay, I got rid of the body, I'm coming back.
Man, you know again, Cass, how you don't see very well how is the perspective is. Look how steep is.
I know. I was whenever we were clearing, it was like everyone's walking sideways. Like it was fun as fuck.
Exactly. Guys, like we're inside the C2 and basically the C2 floor is something like 45 degrees on an angle.
Yeah.
As annoying as this is, it's actually kind of nice. Different terrain features.
Yeah.
Instead of just a flat map, you know.
Sure. Oh yeah, we cannot.
Just happy it's not fucking yellow.
I mean,
sick of pirating in yellow. Oh man. It was definitely an experience. I can tell you that much. That fucking hit was an experience. I'm gonna relink the video for you guys. There you go. It's on Baron's channel. I am working on the mongrel version of the hit, where I have all the different POVs. Baron's will be included. And I've also got the video footage of how long it actually took us to move all that cargo. And I'm not joking when I say it took us 3 hours. Baron doesn't highlight all the pain. At the end, he just mentions it. And he's not kidding when he says, like, the server 30k'd. Just, it 30k'd about a minute after we sold.
It was actually pretty nuts. Just how, like, we'd landed, DT had shown up in his Caterpillar by this point and was selling. And yeah, like, the server at 30k after we'd sold all the stuff. So many ships, so much wreckage, so much people involved. It was, you know, it was definitely an experience. I liked the hit. The hit was really cool. And unfortunately, you don't really see the cool part from Baron's point of view where the ship's going down. You don't see it that well, but it's actually a really cool thing to watch the target ship go down crash landing in that valley until you have to move all the boxes and you realize just how shit it is. But yeah, that was that's Baron's channel there. He's on a break though. He's moving back to France, as he said at the start of his video. It'll be a couple of months before he actually is putting content back out again. So, you know, feel free to jump onto his channel. He's got a library of, you know, stuff that he used to, or a library of gameplay videos. He also has other stuff there as well. He'll let loose. I think he had some tabletop stuff as well. Let me have a look. A lot of the most recent stuff has been Star Citizen Piracy, but he'd been doing other games as well. And that's, you know, an example of just a different perspective. He also, because his streams are in French, or his content is all in French as well, so if you do have any French speaking friends that are interested in Star Citizen, feel free to point them towards Baron's channel. Not sure what his engagement plan is while he's moving to France. I know he won't be putting out videos constantly, but he may do other stuff. You know, if he's got his phone and all that, he may be able to do small snippet videos and things like that. I don't know. But yeah, fucking the SRV cannot come soon enough. It has been pain. So much pain. But we're well over the 3-hour mark, so I'm going to start wrapping up the stream. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming along who did come along. For those who are watching after the stream, thank you for coming along and watching after the stream. The next stream is not going to be until next week. I'm aiming for the same time frame, although I'll do a better look at the calendar to make sure I'm not doing a scheduling conflict with events that are running. There's a lot of stuff going on in terms of Mongrel Squad recruitment, the Mongrel Corps, a lot of moving parts happening. I'm also currently on a break from Star Citizen. I've given myself 2 weeks off so that I can kind of just take a break from Star Citizen, focus on the org, focus on doing a few other things as well. I'm still doing the content stuff though, so that we can keep pushing out. I did have plans on releasing a video either today or tomorrow. That said though, the video that I was working on, I got to a point with it where I realized that it was really, I wouldn't say boring, but it was pretty stock standard for a hit. We find a target, we brick them, we board them, we kill them. We then look at their cargo, take the cargo, sell it. Although in that hit we decided not to, because we didn't have a clue what bloody cargo they had on board until we actually hit them. So I'm working on the video from that hit, which is actually going to take a while to put together because of how much shit that happens after the hit that I want to make sure that I highlight, so that we can all point at it to CIG and say, we really need the SRV. Anyway, that's it for this stream, everybody. Thank you very much for coming along, and keep an eye out on Mongrel Squad's Gilded server for when the content calendar gets updated. I'll update it with the time when the stream starts, so that you all know ahead of time when this stream will be on, so you can all be here. Alright, I'll catch you all next time.